My boyfriend made a deal with a mysterious figure, trading 10 years of his life for a single cent from my bank account. He's out of his mind. In my past life, he traded away the entire million in my account to pay for his white moonlight's cancer treatment. His precious white moonlight recovered, but my father, who desperately needed a heart transplant, died because I couldn't afford the medical fees. My boyfriend thought I was in the dark and tried to comfort me. Your father is getting on in years, and the transplant isn't guaranteed to succeed. After I called him out, he then said, Ying is still young, I think the chance to live should go to her. Don't worry, once she recovers, I'll be by your side for the rest of our days. I turned around and stabbed him through, and I didn't spare his beloved either. Then, I jumped into the river with my father's ashes in my arms. When I opened my eyes again, I was back to the day before my boyfriend's deal with the mysterious man. One day, change, then make it a big one. When I came back to life, I was in the middle of signing a contract to sell my house. The pen nearly slipped from my grasp. With a jolt, I immediately tightened my grip. My boyfriend Li Cheng's voice sounded in my ear. Ran, what's wrong? I ignored Li Cheng, tossed my pen aside, and looked at the seller. Sorry, I'm not selling the house anymore. Then, ignoring the seller's confused look, I stood up and left. Li Cheng hurried out after her in a panic, grabbed me. What's wrong? Ran. This is the buyer I finally found who can pay the full price for the house immediately. I pushed him away. The offer is too low. I won't sell. Li Cheng is anxious, but your father needs the money for surgery, and there's also post-operative care. It's a huge amount of money. That's why I quickly found a buyer for you. Let's go back and sign the contract. We mustn't delay your father's treatment. I looked at him. His sincere eyes seemed genuinely concerned for me, but I knew he was lying to me. In my past life, I sold my house, took out loans, and scraped together $1 million to prepare for my father's heart transplant surgery. Unexpectedly, a problem arose when we went to the hospital to pay. The money was gone. Unable to pay, the surgery couldn't be scheduled. My father grew weaker day by day. The heart has reached the point where it must be replaced. There's no time to wait. I'm desperate. I tried the bank, the police, but nothing worked. The transactions all look normal, as if I never had $1 million. The police also thought I was crazy. They even suggested I see a psychiatrist. I don't have time for this nonsense. My dad is still waiting for me to save his life. No matter how urgently I try to gather it, I can't come up with that much money. In the end, my father passed away. I'm not willing to accept this, but there's nothing I can do. While going to the hospital to handle the aftermath, I accidentally ran into Li Cheng. He was supporting someone, and that person was Su Ying, Li Cheng's cancer-stricken white moonlight. I had a feeling there was more to it, so I quietly followed them. As it turned out, I overheard the truth. Su Ying said, Brother Cheng, you said you traded 10 years of your life for Lin Ran's money. She won't find out, will she? Li Cheng said, no. The mysterious person said he can solve all problems. Look, Lin Ran even reported it to the police, but they couldn't find anything. I was furious, stormed over to confront him, and even had the freshly recorded audio. To my surprise, Li Cheng flatly denied it. I took this to the police. The officers still thought I was crazy. Trading 10 years of your life for money, that kind of thing doesn't exist in this world. They didn't even want to call Li Cheng and Su Ying in, just saying it was a hallucination I had after being cheated on, and that I had fabricated an audio clip using AI to frame them. The thought of it made me laugh in sheer exasperation. Framing me? Do you think I wouldn't know if I was being framed? All they want is money anyway. This time, they won't get a single cent. It's a good deal to trade a penny for 10 years of life, too. I originally thought of not leaving a single penny, but then I thought, what if that caused the transaction to fail? If I can't get 10 years off Li Cheng's life, then this whole deal is a total rip-off. Li Cheng was still yammering in my ear. Ran, don't be difficult. I've already settled everything with the buyer. A buyer who can pay in full for a house is hard to come by. This is a now or never opportunity. I just shook him off. I said, I'm not selling it. Are you deaf? He was getting angry too. Then just let your father go untreated. Just then, the buyer from inside came out. Li Cheng saw this and quickly stepped forward with an ingratiating smile. Seizing the opportunity, I left directly. Go to the hospital. I haven't sold any property. I have no loans. I've only been working for a few years, and I have less than 300,000 yuan. I don't have enough for the surgery, but I'll go to the hospital first to get the doctor's order. I'll prepay the full amount. I can get the rest of the money later. In my past life, I was so desperate for money that I even started studying lottery numbers. In a moment of despair, I had memorized the winning numbers from the recent draws by heart. Who would have thought that knowledge would actually come in handy now? On my way to the hospital, I passed by a lottery shop and bought a ticket from memory. Then I went to the hospital, had the doctor write a prescription, and prepaid all the money I could. Now I have less than 1,000 yuan left in my bank account. The small change was mainly because the hospital only allows whole number prepayments. As for the small change, I withdrew it all in cash anyway. The cash won't be exchanged. Now I only have 1 cent left in my card. Only after everything was done did I have the leisure to check my phone. Li Qing sent me dozens of messages. He also made dozens of phone calls. I actually saw it just now, but I didn't bother. Now that I have time, I start reading his messages. Lin Ran, where are you? You're really not selling the house. What about Dad's treatment? I was just saying something in the heat of the moment earlier. Don't be mad. I was just too anxious and thinking about you. We still need to raise the money. If you don't want to sell the house, I've already contacted the bank's client manager. I checked, and with your stable job, you can get a decent loan. That way, Dad's surgery won't be affected. I haven't finished reading yet. Li Qing called. Ran, where are you? I've made an appointment with the bank's client manager. Once you're back, we'll go for the loan. I refused directly. No need to trouble yourself. I'm not taking out a loan. Li Qingdu was getting frantic. Ran, what's wrong with you? Do you really not want to get your dad treated? We're all trying to figure out the money issue. Don't you dare give up. This is so damn frustrating. I just hung up the phone. I remember, the mysterious visitor arrives tomorrow. On this day in my past life, Li Qing vanished for the entire day. I couldn't reach him no matter what I tried. It was from that day on that Li Qing's attitude towards me did a complete 180. This convinced me that it was on this very day Li Qing finalized the deal. I'm leaving him a single penny now, hoping he enjoys the exchange. After that, I went back to the hospital to look after my father. Then, I went home. As soon as I got home, I saw Li Qing looking serious and asking me, Ran, why does your account only have 1 cent left? 3. I was shocked. How did you know? Li Qing's face looked unwell. I have a friend who works at the bank. He stopped mid-sentence. Realizing it was inappropriate, he cut himself off. Then, changing the subject, he said with concern, I'm just worried about you. Your father's surgery is imminent, and now there's no money. What are we going to do? There was 280,000 just a while ago. How did it run out? I looked at him and said, I prepaid the hospital for the money. To my surprise, he jumped up immediately. Why deposit money in the hospital now? There's no interest there. It's a huge loss. He looked extremely anxious. Then he asked me again, can you withdraw it? I'll have a friend help you with some investments. Every little bit of profit helps. I shook my head. Li Qing paced back and forth in the room, frowning. His behavior made me a bit wary. I just reincarnated, and time is pressing. Perhaps I was a bit hasty in handling things. I'm a bit emotionally overwhelmed right now. It looks like he's hesitating. He's not hesitating about tomorrow's deal with the mystery person, is he? I've calmed down now. After some thought, to ensure the deal goes smoothly, I figured I'd better dangle some bait. I produced the lottery ticket. Darling, don't worry about that bit of interest. I hit the jackpot. Dad's surgery is covered. For you heard what I said. Li Qing's eyes lit up. Really, sweetheart? I nodded and then pulled up the lottery results page on my phone. Look, all the numbers are correct. Although I could take the money myself without involving him, but every time I think about the previous life, I hate myself for not exchanging 10 years of his life. And if he delays the deal with the mysterious person, I'll be at a disadvantage. Most importantly, even if he claims the prize, I have a way to make sure he only gets a penny. Li Qing took my phone and kept glancing back and forth between the phone and the lottery ticket. I said with a smile, the prize is over 50 million. He was grinning from ear to ear. He still wanted to take the lottery ticket, but I put it away. The lottery ticket is important, so I'll keep it here. I'm afraid of losing it. Li Qing can trade now. He doesn't care whose hands the lottery ticket is in. He only cares about when to claim the prize. Can we go to the lottery center tomorrow morning, baby? I smiled. Sure. He was really eager. Even in the middle of the night, I heard him sneaking out to call Su Yingying. Yingying, Lin Ran actually won the big prize. We're going to get rich. It was so quiet at midnight that I could hear Su Yingying's voice on the other end. So the deal is still on for tomorrow, right? Wait, no, it's past midnight. It's already today. Li Qing nodded excitedly, then realized Su Yingying couldn't see him, and said, yeah, we'll go first thing in the morning. We'll find the mysterious man right after claiming the prize. You have no idea. I almost wanted to postpone it. Lin Ran actually paid the money already. I specifically looked into it. Her father's heart surgery wasn't supposed to happen this fast. I was down to my last penny, and they wanted 10 years of my life in exchange. Even if I agreed, I wouldn't have been able to afford your treatment, and honestly, Trading for her measly few $100,000 would have been a total rip-off, but now it's perfect, $50 million, I'm willing to make that trade. Once we have the money, your treatment shouldn't be a problem. After you're cured, we'll be financially free and never have to work again. Li Qing was still fantasizing with Su Yingying about their financially independent life. Meanwhile, I had already recorded everything. I'll gather more evidence and submit it to the relevant authorities when the time comes. So, you're into all that mystical and occult stuff? Huh, I refuse to believe no one in the country is interested in this. 5 early in the morning, Li Qing woke me up. We went to the prize collection center. He seemed much more excited than I was. It felt like he had won the prize, not me. After the whole process, he was so happy when he saw the money transferred into my account that his eyes almost disappeared in his smile. Winning 50 million, even after taxes, that's still 40 million. But when the staff asked about making a donation, his face fell. No, we're not donating. Her father needs a heart transplant. The money won't even be enough for that. The staff member gave a slight, wry smile. Why would a heart transplant cost tens of millions? I don't care about him. I donated 2 million directly. I need money, and so do some others. I don't mind lending a hand when I have the capacity to do so, but touching my money, especially the money meant for saving lives, without my permission, is absolutely not acceptable. Li Cheng's face turned black. I noticed his mouth twitching a few times. He looked like he wanted to curse me out, but didn't dare. After all, there were a lot of staff here, not to mention the media. He wouldn't dare make a scene here. He just wasn't smiling as brightly when the photos were taken. After leaving the award center, he made an excuse about work and said he had to rush back to handle it. I nodded. After he left in a taxi, I got into another car and followed him. The car headed towards the outskirts. In the car, I skillfully opened the banking app, entered my dad's bank card number, and made the transfer. Yesterday, I had already set everything up, including the transfer limits. I also practiced many times in the bathroom to make sure I wouldn't make a mistake. In less than a minute, the 40 million in the card was transferred into my dad's account and in my card. Now there's only a single cent left. Again. 6. It took an hour's drive to finally reach the destination. Su Yingying was already waiting there. She has cancer, and her face is now deathly pale, yet nothing could dampen the joy in her expression. It's true what they say, money really does make the world go round, especially money that's almost within your grasp. This is the outskirts, sparsely populated. I didn't dare get too close, so I kept my distance, but I was ready. I secretly planted listening and recording devices in Li Cheng's pocket. I also brought a camera capable of recording video. I could see clearly what they were doing. Zoom in, start recording. They are ready over there. Li Cheng started a fire, burned a talisman, and led Su Yingying in circles. A ghostly figure was summoned. I tried taking a few photos. Great, the phantom can be captured on camera. It won't disappear. The phantom said, ready. Li Cheng and Su Yingying nodded. Let's begin. The spectral figure spoke, and so, the ritual began. The spectral figure asked, Li Cheng, ID number. Are you willing to exchange 10 years of your life for all of Lin Ran's savings? The recipient of the exchange, Lin Ran. ID number. They hadn't even finished reciting my ID number. Li Cheng couldn't wait any longer. Agreed. The phantom was not interrupted and finished reciting with utmost seriousness. Then, the phantom began to perform the ritual. I opened my mobile banking app at that moment. The figure representing my last penny began to blur. My vision swam. The number changed to 0. Over there. Li Cheng really did seem to have aged a bit. His skin even looked a little loose. The phantom's voice was utterly devoid of emotion. The ritual is complete. The transaction is successful. With that, he vanished. Li Cheng was extremely excited. He immediately pulled Su Yingying and started looking at his phone. I saw him beaming with joy as he opened the banking app. Then the smile froze. I refreshed it again and again in disbelief. The numbers inside didn't change at all. It's just 1 cent. Li Cheng froze. 7. But he didn't stay frozen for long and soon recovered, muttering to himself, that can't be right. I saw it with my own eyes. The money was transferred to Lin Ran's account. I even got the confirmation text. Could the transaction have failed? As he spoke, he burned another talisman and circled the brazier several times. The spectral figure appeared once more. This time, the shadow is a bit impatient. What's wrong? Li Cheng asked anxiously. Mysterious person, why is there only 1 cent in my account? Did the transaction fail? The phantom replied, the account of the person being exchanged only has 1 cent. After saying that, before Li Cheng could speak, it disappeared again. Li Cheng wanted to burn the talisman and summon it again. The mysterious person hasn't shown up. Enraged, he kicked over the brazier. Su Yingying is also devastated. Is there no cure for my illness, Li Cheng? Please think of something. Li Cheng is about to explode. You're just dying. But I fucking lost 10 years of my life. It's all your fucking fault. If you hadn't been rushing me, why would I have been in such a hurry? And you insisted on transferring Lynn Rant's money, saying she had taken over my life for 3 years, and the money was compensation for you. I fucking believed your bullshit, and now it's all screwed up, isn't it? There are clearly richer people out there. Why didn't I trade with others? Su Yingying is also angry. You agreed to the deal too, yet you're blaming me. Besides, didn't she win 40 million? How could the money be gone so quickly? It's not like she could spend it all. Li Cheng realized something. He immediately called me, but how could I possibly answer? I've also put my phone on silent. They won't be disturbed. They won't be able to reach me. Li Cheng is really furious. He wanted to try summoning one more time, to see if he could fix things. He said he wanted to reverse the deal, to give me back my penny and get his 10 years of life back, and then, to his horror, he discovered the brazier he had just kicked over. The surrounding vegetation has already caught fire. It's currently autumn. The autumn air is crisp, and the weather is dry. There are many mountains here, and once a fire starts, it's impossible to stop. Li Cheng took off his coat and frantically tried to beat out the flames. He also called for Su Yingying to help, but how could the strength of 2 people withstand nature? As soon as the wind blew, the fire immediately intensified. They sensed something was wrong and ran off immediately. I left too. Before leaving, I reported the fire. They set the mountain on fire. Alright. Let's put the metaphysical stuff aside for now. As for those 2, they can start by getting acquainted with the jail cell 8. After returning to the city, I went straight to the police station. Hand the video over to the police. Strangely enough, now, in my video, that ghostly figure is actually gone. All that's recorded is Li Cheng and Su Yingying burning talismans and walking in circles. I took another look at the photos I took. The shadowy mysterious figure was nowhere to be seen either. Indeed, a mysterious figure capable of altering bank records wouldn't leave such an obvious trail so easily. However, in my video, Li Cheng and Su Yingying setting the fire is undeniably clear evidence. Well, now they're both going to get arrested. The evidence was submitted, so I went to the hospital. I scheduled the surgery with the doctor and paid all the fees in full. Finally, I could breathe a sigh of relief. It seems this time, I've truly changed the course of my and my father's fate. I wonder if Li Cheng was arrested, but I don't dare go back now, so I rented a place near the hospital. After spending the evening with my dad, I was heading over to get some rest, but not long after I stepped out of the hospital, I was grabbed and dragged into a nearby alley. 9. It really is Li Cheng. Why hasn't he been caught yet? And now this situation. It was obvious he had been waiting for me at the hospital for a long time. He finally found a moment when no one was around and pulled me in. The alley was only dimly lit by the street lights, but I still noticed that the wrinkles on his face had increased. He's even got a beer belly now. He's even starting to go a little bald. He's got that whole greasy, middle-aged man vibe. Well, he is 30 now. 10 years older means 40. Li Cheng interrupted my scrutiny. You knew all along, didn't you? You did it on purpose. You deliberately put only 1 cent to mess with me. He roared with clenched teeth. There's no point in hiding it anymore. I sneered. No what? The deal where you traded 10 years of your life for my savings. His eyes were bloodshot. You really do know. How did you find out? No, I don't care. I've already lost my lifespan, so you should give me the money. That 4 million is what I deserve. I couldn't help but laugh in anger. That 10 years of your lifespan wasn't for me, so why should I give you the money? And it was you who took a penny from me, so logically, you should return that penny to me. I'm stalling for time. The police were already after Li Cheng. When I was dragged in just now, I already heard the sound of police sirens, so it should be soon. But the Li Cheng in front of me is only focused on my 40 million. He hasn't realized that he's about to be caught. Hearing my words, he went ballistic. Where did you hide that money? In such a short time, you couldn't have spent it all. Did you transfer it to someone else? Tell me, who did you transfer it to? I'll get the mysterious person to get it back for me. It seems he's not quite in his right mind now. His logic is all over the place. I said calmly, if you want to make another deal with the mysterious man, it'll cost you another 10 years of your life. He was about to say something more when the police entered. He immediately turned and fled. In his panic, he darted across the road without looking and was sent flying by a car, spun around in the air several times before landing. The person fainted immediately. 10. After this incident, I started thinking, is one's fate predetermined? In my past life, Li Cheng, who had 10 years of his life stolen, was stabbed to death by me. In this life, he also had 10 years of his life taken away. Does that mean his time is almost up? I inquired at the hospital. He's still alive, but it's not looking good. He probably doesn't have much time left. I reckon Su Yingying won't be far behind. She has cancer if we're going by the same timeline as my last life. When I stabbed her, she doesn't have much longer to live. A sense of unease settled in my heart. What about me and my dad? In my past life, my father died because he didn't undergo a heart transplant surgery. What? About this time I'm utterly consumed with anxiety, but I don't know anything about medicine, so there's nothing I can do. I had to stress to the doctor that we must use the best medication and treatment plan available. Money is no longer an issue for me. I can afford it all now. The surgery was completed very quickly. The doctor said the surgery went smoothly, but proper aftercare is crucial. Avoid infection. There's also the challenge of preventing rejection. I quit my job and took meticulous care. I also hired the best caregiver available, staying vigilant even at night, fearful of any issues arising. Fortunately, my dad is recovering well. He's about to be discharged, so after I got my food from the hospital cafeteria that day and was heading back, I spotted Su Yingying sneaking off to a secluded corner of the hospital. She was also receiving treatment at this hospital. She didn't have much money left. I heard the funds she'd raised through a crowdfunding campaign were nearly gone. In the previous arson case, she was considered an accomplice. Due to her critical illness, the police granted her medical parole. The time of my father's death in my past life is fast approaching. I dare not be the slightest bit careless, so I followed. Once she reached a secluded spot, she looked around to ensure she was alone, then produced a basin. Next, she took out a talisman paper and set it alight. Then she began to circle around the flaming basin, just like Li Chang's previous summoning ritual. The shadowy mysterious figure appeared again. The mysterious figure spoke. What do you seek? Su Yingying said bluntly. I want to live. I want more time. I'll give anything, pay any price, just let me live. I don't want to die. She looked even more frail now. A gentle breeze could have carried her away, like a delicate white flower. The mysterious person smiled. All right, then let's trade what you care about most. How about your appearance? Who would you like to trade lifespans with? Su Yingying clenched her teeth. I want to trade Lin Ran's and her father's. If it weren't for Lin Ran, I would have had money for treatment. It's all her fault. The mysterious figure smiled again. Sure, write the ID number of the person being traded on the talisman paper, burn it for me when summoning, and in 2 days, trade your 7-point appearance and figure for Lin Ran and Lin Jisheng's entire lifespan. The mysterious figure vanished, and my heart slowly sank. 2 days from now would be the anniversary of my father's death in my past life. 11. This time, I chose to bring the whole thing to light. Even if this is truly the fate destined for my father and me, let everyone know that such a strange thing exists in the world. It indiscriminately fulfills wishes, regardless of good or bad. In severe cases, it can truly endanger everyone's safety. I contacted my best friend who's an influencer. As bizarre as it sounds, my best friend chose to believe me. I also contacted state security, although I don't have any direct evidence on hand right now. I do have audio and video recordings of Li Ching and the others. Considering their recent strange behavior, the officials decided to trust me. That mysterious figure doesn't appear every time he's summoned, therefore, we must avoid tipping our hand. 2 days passed quickly. My bestie had a contact at the hospital and had already set up a hidden camera. Meanwhile, the official personnel were also in hiding. The country also invited experts in metaphysics and curses to watch together. As for my dad, I instructed the caregiver to monitor his condition closely and alert the doctor immediately if any issues arise. Meanwhile, I headed to the scene. I went with my best friend. Soon after, Su Yingying showed up. She still lit the brazier, burned the talisman, and circled around. Soon, the mysterious figure appeared. Are you ready? Su Yingying nodded. Ready. The moment I saw the mysterious figure, I heard my best friend gasp beside me. The officials, meanwhile, wore grave expressions. The mysterious figure continued. Let's begin. Su Yingying, ID number. Are you willing to exchange a 7 out of 10 rating of your looks and figure for the remaining lifespans of Lin Ran and Lin Jisheng? The subjects of the exchange are Lin Ran, ID number, and Lin Jisheng, ID number. Su Yingying's eyes lit up. She cried out weakly, yes, yes. The mysterious figure then began the ritual. At that moment, the official team stepped in. The master sorcerer and the team threw a handful of talismans. Hold that mysterious figure right there. The ritual of the mysterious figure was interrupted. It tried to flee, but escape was impossible. It thrashed about wildly, desperate to break free from its restraints, but to no avail. At that moment, it finally shed its usual elegance and snapped, screaming at Su Yingying, you wretch, I helped you out of kindness, and this is how you repay me. Su Yingying was utterly terrified, tears streaming down her face. No, it wasn't me, the mysterious figure couldn't care less. I don't care, the deal's off, but you have to pay the price, hand over your looks. In that instant, Su Yingying's beautiful face turned hideous, and her figure became skinny and frail, already weak from illness. She suddenly looked like a skeleton. The mysterious figure also tossed out a mirror. Take a look, this is your fate. Su Yingying fainted immediately after seeing her own face. 12. The mysterious person still couldn't escape. It was taken away by the authorities. The blow was simply too much for Su Yingying to bear. Her body gave out, and she died that very night. It happened a few days earlier than in her previous life. Her best friend's livestream went viral. It stayed at the top of the trending charts for a full month. My best friend herself has gained nearly 10 million followers. As for my dad and me, we survived healthily. This is our true destiny after all. The end. Story 2. After learning my military officer husband still pined for an unattainable white moonlight, I voluntarily applied to nullify my household registration and join a top-secret national research program. Before leaving, I resolved to treat He Chongguang well and become the perfect wife he desired. 7 days before departure, he demanded I vacate our master bedroom for his white moonlight. I quietly moved to the guest room. On the 6th day, counting down, he let me get drenched in the rain just to pick up his white moonlight. I tactfully got out of the car, not wanting to interfere with his knight in shining armor moment. On the 5th day, he ditched our movie date to comfort his sick white moonlight. I decided to leave early and give them their happy ending. When he realized I'd disappeared, he panicked and filed a police report, causing a huge scene that became the talk of the town. But the officer said, "There's no record of anyone named Shuang Xia. According to our files, you're still unmarried. This top-secret operation commences in 1 week. At that time, we'll erase all records of your existence. Even immediate family must maintain secrecy. It'll be as if Shuang Xia never walked this earth." Shuang Xia, won't you miss your husband and son? My application left even the director speechless for quite some time. After all, I'd always prioritized family above everything else. I remained silent for a long moment. They already have their loved ones by their side. I believe my country needs me more. Because He Chongguang happened to be the youngest Special Forces battalion commander in the Southeast Military Region. With the awareness of being a military spouse, I voluntarily gave up my research career to become the backbone of his family. But it wasn't until later that I discovered he had another woman outside, one he spoiled beyond measure. Just before signing, I asked, "What about my marriage to He Chongguang?" The director cleared his throat awkwardly. "That will be automatically dissolved as well, I suppose you." Without a moment's hesitation upon hearing this, "In that case, I voluntarily joined the Qilin project. I'll report for duty exactly 1 week from today." Seeing my resolute stance, the director was moved to tears. "Comrade Shuang Xia, thank you for your sacrifice for the nation. We warmly welcome you aboard. 1 more week. I'll no longer be anyone's wife or mother. I'll only let them have me for 1 more week." After disappearing for a whole day without explanation, my phone showed nothing but a few nagging messages about cooking. No one truly cared where I'd been. The night wind chilled me to the bone, but when I pushed the door open, the warmth inside hit me like a glaring light. Tianjia was holding our son while they played with paper cutouts, with unmistakable resentment in his eyes. The boy carefully cut my image out of the family photo and dutifully pasted Tianjia's in its place. My photo lay in shreds, scattered across the floor. He Chongguang's silence spoke volumes. Tacit approval. The usually stern man lounged uncharacteristically relaxed on the sofa, legs casually crossed, broad-shouldered and long-limbed. His towering frame stood sharp as if carved by howling winds. He gazed at Tian and Jia with a tenderness I'd never seen in his eyes, occasionally murmuring responses to them. Clutching my house key, I felt like an intruder stumbling upon someone else's happy family. When was the last time he came home? 3 months ago. 5 maybe. If you can't remember, then don't force it. After all, this marriage of ours was never meant to be. Back when He Chongguang's father was in peril during a border mission, my parents who lived there sacrificed their lives to save his. I became an orphan when I was still babbling my first words. "Father," he declared immediately, "Shuang Xia will be our He family's future daughter-in-law. We'll take responsibility for her for life." Being an orphan from impoverished beginnings, I knew I wasn't worthy of the prestigious He military family. Fatefully, He Chongguang got injured during a mission and was left fighting for his life when no compatible kidney donor could be found. As the only matching donor, I didn't hesitate to give him my kidney despite Mrs. He's repeated objections. "Mister," he insisted on having He Chongguang marry me. Little did I know, After the wedding He Chongwang avoided me like the plague, and his relationship with his father froze over completely. I'd assumed someone like him was simply cold by nature. Turns out while I was bedridden suffering from post-illness complications, He Chongwang had grown close to military doctor Tian Jia who tended to him, and they'd secretly pledged their lives to each other. It was my misguided act of donating a kidney that ruined their happiness. Staring at that forcibly photoshopped family portrait, Tian Jia's eyes suddenly clouded with sorrow. The cruel irony is that having a home remains beyond my reach. During this entire vacation, I didn't even have a place to stay. Too, she'd always been adept at playing the victim. Tian Jia was orphaned at a young age. Back then, she desperately sought help from kind souls to fund her education. Moved by her plight, I took odd jobs to support her through college, where she met He Chongwang. Through tears, Tian Jia vowed she'd repay my kindness someday. Her repayment, following He Chongwang to his military base after graduation, becoming an army doctor by his side in the military unit. Tian Jia spread rumors everywhere that my charity work was fake, my payments were always late, and I was stingy with donations. An orphan girl posing as the privileged young mistress of the He family. What sheer vanity! This made He Chongwang despise me even more, and he immediately separated from me after our marriage. We had a son after a drunken night, but afterward he remained chaste for Tian Jia, wary of every move I made toward him. Seeing Tian Jia's distress, He Chongwang's heart ached. He quickly suggested they could stay at my place temporarily. Without hesitation, Tian Jia pointed at my bedroom as if she'd planned it all along. I think that room would be perfect. Following her gesture, He Chongwang's brow furrowed slightly before quickly smoothing out. I suppose that could work. The son I raised single-handedly clapped his hands in delight. Yay, it'd be even better if Aunt Jia could be my mom. His eager tone practically begged me to move out immediately. He Chongwang wore a faint smile as he ruffled his son's hair with a mix of resignation and contentment. The jingle of my keys shattered the heartwarming moment by accident. The boy hastily covered the family photo on the table while He Chongwang's eyes regained their usual aloof chill. I knew they were bracing for my outburst. After all, I've cried and made scenes countless times over Tianjia's boundary-crossing behavior. Honestly, it's all so pointless. I indifferently averted my gaze, couldn't be bothered to care, poured myself a glass of water and downed it in one gulp, pretending nothing happened. He Chongwang paused for a moment, unusually initiating conversation with me. You hungry? Let me make you some noodles. In the past, I'd have jumped at the offer immediately. I'd been craving his cooking for ages, but I knew better now. His seemingly caring words were just a diversion tactic. Afraid I'd confront Tian Jia, I wasn't going to respond, but He Chongwang's piercing stare practically demanded an answer. I brushed it off with, not hungry, drank my fill earlier. Clearly missing his protective intent, Tian Jia stood up with visible jealousy. I should get going. The boy immediately clung to Tian Jia's leg, wailing uncontrollably, Mommy's mean. You made Auntie Jia leave as soon as you got home. You should be the one to leave. I want Auntie Jia to stay. A lump of frustration stuck in my chest, neither rising nor settling. He Chongwang reluctantly picked up the car keys, clearly unwilling to see Tian Jia leave. See, I'm the third wheel here, but it's fine. Just one more week and I'll be completely out of their hair. Letting out a heavy sigh, I forced a faint smile. Since everyone wants you to stay, then don't leave. You can live in my room from now on. Tian Jia stared at me in shock, while even the usually composed He Chongwang's gaze held traces of astonishment. Only my son remained oblivious, his tears turning to laughter. Really? Yay, that's awesome. A flicker of emotion crossed He Chongwang's eyes as he hastily spoke before Tian Jia could move. No need, Jia will be heading back after her vacation. I'll just book her a hotel. Don't trouble yourself. After 7 years of marriage, I still can't seem to understand He Chongwang logically. With Tian Jia living nearby, he should have jumped at the chance to agree. Even Tian Jia seemed hurt by He Chongwang's unusual behavior, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. For once, He Chongwang's attention wasn't on Tian Jia, his gaze remained fixed on me. He finally seemed to notice something was off about me. Meeting his gaze, I smiled with quiet composure. No trouble at all. I've taken on a new job and won't be needing this room anymore. A trace of irritation shadowed He Chongwang's deep-set eyes. Oh, where are you off to for odd jobs this time? The son grumbled under his breath, clearly displeased. All you can do is cook and mop floors at home. Can't even make $3,000 a month. If you hadn't married Dad, you'd never have this cushy life. Her heart twisted like a wrung lemon, sour and crumpled. Mister, he was never home. And his family had long stopped supporting my education and living expenses with nothing but my calloused hands. I somehow scraped together odd jobs to get into Peking University's School of Mathematical Sciences. The He family knew nothing about any of this. After 7 years of marriage, He Chongguang remained so distant he didn't even know what I did for work for all 10 months of pregnancy. Even during labor, I went to the hospital alone, clutching my belly. I nearly died from difficult childbirth, yet still had to muster the strength to sign my own critical condition form. I gave up a lucrative position and settled for an undemanding job in the team, just to raise my son properly. Yet my own son now sneers at me, calling me a parasite. In the past, I would have poured out my grievances, fishing for those pitiful scraps of attention, but now, I simply replied calmly, "No, I'm planning to join." 3. Before I could finish, Tianjia suddenly grimaced in pain, clutching her stomach. "I don't know what's wrong. My stomach just started hurting all of a sudden." He Chongguang instantly averted his gaze from me, kneeling on one knee to examine Tianjia's abdomen with urgent concern. "Does it hurt here, or here?" My son, who usually expects me to wait on him during meals, swiftly fetched a cup of warm water and handed it to Tianjia. "Aunt Jiejia, would some warm water make you feel better?" The scene of being surrounded by my family's care is a dream I'll never reach in this lifetime. Turns out they're perfectly capable of caring for others, just not me. I remember this summer being unbearably stuffy. After cooking alone, I collapsed right in the living room. My son shot me a dismissive glance before burying his face back in his meal. I woke up to find it was already afternoon, the dim sunset casting a desolate glow across the living room. My son was holed up in his bedroom gaming, the table littered with the remnants of a hastily devoured meal. When our anniversary came around a week later, He Chongguang still claimed he was too busy to come home. My mother-in-law took our son to his extracurricular class. I specially prepared all his favorite dishes, planning to surprise him at the military base. The guard said he'd already left to be with his significant other. Clearly, that significant other wasn't me. I found out He Chongguang's whereabouts through Tianjia's WeChat Moments video. At the amusement park, Tianjia wore a playful Mickey Mouse headband while cradling her son tightly in her arms. The little boy held He Chongguang's hand and planted a kiss on Tianjia's cheek. From behind the screen came the mother-in-law's voice, "Give each other a hug, you two lovebirds." He Chongguang hesitated with pursed lips, then finally broke into a faint smile as he drew Tianjia into an embrace. When I arrived at the amusement park, I happened to see them coming out in high spirits. I hid behind a tree, just steps away from He Chongguang. Even through the phone, I could hear my son's boisterous shrieks and Tianjia's saccharine laughter. How I wished He Chongguang would tell the truth at this moment instead of lying, but he said, "Still busy with boot camp training." I bit my lip till it bled, gripping my phone as I replied, "Yeah, okay, this world is full of illusions, only pain never lies." I told myself this too shall pass. I'm not hurt, not one bit. I tactfully retreated to the guest room without waiting for He Chongguang to condescendingly shoo me away. Tianjia gleefully claimed the master bedroom, with our son clamoring to sleep beside her. "It seems even without me here, our son will be perfectly content. This is for the best." The next day, Mrs. He finally returned from her trip, bringing back loads of souvenirs. There were gifts for her son, for He Chongguang, even one for Tianjia. I stood frozen, scrambling to figure out how to properly thank Mrs. He for her thoughtfulness, but when all the presents were handed out, she just shot me a disapproving glare. "Hurry up and cook. I've been craving your food the whole time I was away. Nothing else compares." The tone was unmistakably that of bossing around a servant, which, in effect, it was. Yet Tianjia, an outsider, embraced Mother He like a daughter-in-law, even planting a kiss on her cheek. "You're the best, Auntie." Mother He patted Tianjia's hand affectionately, her eyes brimming with approval. "You'll have to look after my boy in the army from now on." When flustered, people really do tend to glance around aimlessly. Turning her head, she unexpectedly met He Chongguang's gaze. There was something unreadable in his eyes. He glanced at my empty hands and slowly walked toward me with the gift, planning to take pity on me. Just as the hand reached me, Tianjia lunged forward and snatched the present from He Chongguang's grasp, her eyes sparkling. "Wow, I love this too. Can you give it to me?" He Chongguang froze for a split second, then glanced at me. Under Tianjia's expectant gaze, he finally nodded, "Yeah, alright." As she took the gift, Tianjia shot me a triumphant look. My thoughts were in disarray when Mother He suddenly shoved me. "What are you standing there for? Go cook already. You're not expecting me to do it, are you?" Rubbing my dull, aching chest, I said casually. You'll have to learn to cook for yourselves when I'm not around. My son just thought I was putting on airs and snorted in disdain. When you're not around, you make it sound like you're about to die. To be precise, it's practically death, but seeing how happy they are as a family, it's like my presence makes no difference at all. Consider this my final meal for them. I deftly tied on the apron and turned toward the kitchen. Tianjia followed closely behind, radiating an almost exaggerated eagerness to please. Let me help you, sis. Mother, he pulled her aside with a scolding look. You're an army doctor, a servant of the state. You weren't born to wait on others your whole life. She even rolled her eyes at me, making it clear she thought I was no match for Tianjia. Having her help would just make all three of us miserable. Why would I invite that kind of trouble? The stir-fried pork with peppers sizzled in the wok, its rising steam suddenly making my vision swim. The weightless sensation left me disoriented, and I crumpled to the floor. Before I knew it, He Chongguang was standing right behind me, pulling me into a tight embrace. Whether it was my imagination or not, I saw his brows furrowed deeply, his eyes swirling with concern and panic. Are you okay? Need any help? His firm muscles pressed against me, radiating scorching heat. Leaning on his arm for support, I barely managed to stand straight before hastily pulling away from his embrace. Mrs. He darted into the kitchen like she was guarding against thieves, wedging herself between us. I knew at the moment we got back, she's just pretending to be busy to avoid cooking. Just as I was about to explain, Tianjia came trotting over with a beaming smile to tug at He Chongguang's sleeve. Come see the family portrait our son drew. It's surprisingly well done. The spatula danced in the wok, but couldn't shake the image of that four-person family portrait from my mind. There was He Chongguang, him, his mother, and Tianjia. By the time I joined the table, the four of them were peacefully taking turns serving themselves. Only cold leftovers remained on the table. As the cook, I picked up my chopsticks but found nothing worth eating. Having eaten her fill, Mother, he exchanged a glance with Tianjia before straightening her posture. Zhuangxia, there's something I must make clear to you. She produced 2 items, another copy of the divorce agreement between me and He Chongguang, another bank card with 10,000 yuan deposited. You know perfectly well you're beneath my son's station, and your job is downright embarrassing. Now that he's found true love, my grandson dislikes you, and I've long been dissatisfied with you. Hearing this, everything became clear to me. Turning to He Chongguang, I found his eyes downcast, the long lashes masking any discernible emotion, for my heart sank completely. With the Qilin project about to launch, it was time to bring everything to an end. I set down my chopsticks. Actually, I've got something to tell you all too, Mrs. He impatiently raised her hand to cut me off. Spare me your excuses, let me speak first. She slid the divorce papers and a bank card across the table toward me. We'll always be grateful your parents saved Chongguang's father at the cost of their lives. But we've raised you like our own child. That debt has been repaid in full. Donating a kidney to my son was your own choice, hardly a sacrifice. If anything, my son lowered his standards by marrying you. We don't expect repayment for our kindness, just let my son go. I'll even get on my knees if I have to. She theatrically dropped to her knees, dead set on forcing me to sign the divorce papers. I mercilessly called her bluff. No need for theatrics, I'll sign. As He Chongguang's eyes widened in slow motion, I picked up the pen without hesitation. The moment I signed my name, I actually felt relief, finally free from bearing the blame for breaking our marriage vows. Finally, it's over. The boy threw his hands up in sheer delight. Yay, I finally get to trade in for a new mom. Overcome with excitement, Tianjia immediately reached for He Chongguang's hand, ready to start their new life together. This marriage cannot end in divorce. He Chongguang deliberately turned away from Tianjia's touch, then reached out and snatched the divorce papers under the astonished gazes of everyone present. The document crumpled in his hands, tore apart, and scattered into fragments across the room. Brother Chongguang, what are you doing? Tianjia's face flushed crimson as she covered it and dashed toward the bedroom. Mother, he slammed the table in fury. Have you lost your mind? Isn't this exactly what you've always wanted? He Chongguang's face darkened. After a long pause, he explained, I'm at a critical point in my career right now. If we divorce, what will my superiors think of me? What will they think of Jejia? I actually thought he genuinely didn't want a divorce. Ultimately, it's all about protecting Tianjia's reputation. Let it be. Even without signing this agreement, it'll automatically void once I'm gone. Amid the commotion, I slipped out alone. I hailed a cab to the traditional Chinese medicine clinic I frequent, where I regularly get medicine for Mr. He ever since his injury. His chest aches like hell whenever it's windy or rainy. I consulted every specialist around. But only this herbal medicine really does the trick. I'd always prepare some in advance before his home leave, so he can take it back to the barracks each time. He'd pat my head with such tenderness, his eyes overflowing with affection. "Xia, I don't know what this family would do without you, mister." He treated me exceptionally well, dividing his monthly salary into 3 portions, one for household expenses, one for me, and one to be saved, but the portion meant for me had long been withheld by Mrs. He, while others were enjoying family warmth with their parents, I was breaking blisters on construction sites, but I couldn't bear to trouble Father He further, so I scrimped and saved to finish my education. This time, I made sure the doctor wrote down the prescription so they could still fill Father He's medicine after I'm gone. After buying medicine, I wandered into the mall on a whim, passing a cosmetics counter. The mirror reflected my haggard face staring back at me. The dull pallor completely overshadowed my delicate, well-defined features. Had my parents lived, I'd still be their treasured darling, certainly wouldn't have wasted away to this state. The sales associate greeted me with a smile. "Looking for anything special today?" I shook my head blankly. "I don't really know much about these things." "No worries. You're welcome to try some makeup even if you're not buying." She guided me to a seat and started applying various products I couldn't identify all over my face, watching myself transform in the mirror, bit by bit, until I became someone new, radiant beyond belief, with no trace of time's wear and tear. "Look how gorgeous you are. A woman should always cherish herself. I'm not trying to make you spend money here. You're genuinely stunning, and it'd be a shame not to enhance that beauty." "Exactly. If I don't even love myself, how can I expect anyone else to cherish me?" Not wanting the salesperson's efforts to go to waste, I bought a lipstick and left. I've been wearing the same clothes for years, starting at a new workplace. It's time to get some new outfits. Dressed in trendy clothes, I barely recognized the reflection staring back at me. My mood lifted considerably as I walked out of the mall with arms full of shopping bags. The sky was gloomy, with thick storm clouds looming overhead like billowing smoke. The crowd bustled about, some laughing cheerfully, others rushing hurriedly. He Chongguang stood out like a beacon, instantly capturing my attention amidst the bustling crowd. Dressed in a black trench coat, he leaned stiffly against the car door with a cigarette between his fingers. His mere presence there effortlessly drew the gazes of passers-by. When he first saw me, it took him a long moment to recognize me. The previously aloof man hastily stubbed out his cigarette and paused. "Looks like it's about to rain, so I came to pick you up." He said it like an explanation, afraid I might misinterpret his sudden concern as something more. Not that his explanation was necessary anyway. A faint blush crept up He Chongguang's ears for no apparent reason. After a long silence, he finally spoke. "You look lovely today." After years of pouring my heart into this family without so much as a glance, he's suddenly generous with compliments, yet my heart remained unmoved as I offered a polite smile. "Hop in, I'll give you a ride." This was my first time riding in his car, and also the last. Opening the passenger door, I was greeted by a row of Mickey Mouse plushies Tianjia adored, with a cutie seat only sticker on the headrest. I tactfully turned to head for the back seat. He Chongguang frantically tossed all the plushies into the back before deftly peeling off the sticker. 5. Jiejia is still young and easily distracted. We won't let her handle this anymore. He patted the passenger seat with an air of finality. "Sit here." I decided not to argue further and slid into the seat. Just as I settled in, he suddenly leaned over, his arm reaching across my chest, enveloping me in a half embrace. The faint scent of tobacco grew closer as he reached for the seatbelt at my waist. Whether from nervousness or something else, I could clearly feel his hands trembling as he fumbled with the buckle. With a sigh, I took over and clicked it in. "I can manage on my own." He responded flatly. The downpour arrived without warning, blurring the streetscape. Never had I been alone with him in such confined quarters. I could even catch the crisp scent of him, carrying that uniquely military air of stern solemnity. He kept glancing my way, eventually breaking the silence himself. "What did you buy?" Belatedly realizing, I set down the medicine I was holding. "Oh, the Chinese herbal medicine I got for your dad. Here's the prescription. I'll put it in the glove compartment. You'll be handling his medication from now on." The car lurched to an abrupt stop. He Chongguang stared straight ahead, his hands gripping the steering wheel tightly. His voice was hoarse. "This feels like giving last words. Disappearing from this world counts as last words too, I suppose. You don't have to carry this alone. Let me share your burden." He turned his head, his inscrutable gaze flickering between clarity and shadow. "Share my burden. The rain must be too loud. I must have misheard, Zhuangxia. I responded flatly, let's talk, but I had nothing left to say. I didn't respond, just leaned my head against the car window and closed my eyes. The clamor of rain only magnified our silence. Chongguang's ringtone jolted me awake. Even through the screen, I could hear Tianjia's grating voice. It's pouring rain and I'm stuck here. What should I do, Chongguang? I'll catch a cold at this rate. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed Chongguang checking if I was awake. I can't make it right now. Just grab a cab. No way, there aren't any cabs available right now. Fine, I'll just get soaked then. After hanging up, Chongguang was so distracted that he accidentally ran a red light. I'd rather not die in his car before serving my country, so I broke the silence first. It's fine, just drop me off here, go pick her up, it's not far anyway, I can walk the rest of the way. What a downpour, Chongguang muttered with a conflicted expression before finally making up his mind. Tell you what, there's a bus stop ahead, wait for me there, I'll come pick you up shortly. The car door had barely shut when the vehicle accelerated into the curtain of rain. Without looking back, I dashed to a nearby convenience store for an umbrella and walked home alone. See, I can actually take good care of myself alone. After returning, I started packing my luggage. Looks like I don't even need a week. I could leave right now. Yet as I walked around the house, their traces were everywhere. It feels like nothing truly belongs to me. Finally dug out our marriage certificate from beneath layers of plastic bags at the bottom of the cabinet. Mine and Chongguang's shows how dearly I treasured it back then. In the photo, I'm grinning like a fool while Chongguang wears a sour expression. The only memory left is this bitter one, our family photo with me, and it was torn apart by my son. I lit the lighter and watched as the marriage certificate photo of me and Chongguang slowly turned to ashes in the flames. From then on, even when they thought of me, they couldn't find a single trace I'd left behind. It's nice when we're both at ease. Soon, noises from the living room reached my ears, mingled with Tianjia's coquettish voice. Chongguang, you're so sweet. You always come to me the moment I need you. I'd long grown accustomed to their public displays of affection, but this time Chongguang said, you're our guest, it's only proper. The living room fell silent. Moments later, Chongguang knocked on my door. I ignored him, pulling the blanket tighter, annoyed he'd disturbed my sweet dream. The next morning, I found a text from Chongguang on my phone, sent at 3 a.m. I was wrong yesterday. I bought 2 movie tickets, let's go together. After all these years of marriage, those little romantic gestures he often shared with Tianjia never once came my way. This was the first time he'd ever asked me out to a movie. I figured since I'm leaving, I should at least say goodbye to him. When the movie ends, it'll be time for us to go our separate ways. The credits rolled, but Chongguang still hadn't shown up. Every time I give it my all, every time I learn the hard way, every time I end up disappointed. The office had emptied out for the day when Chongguang finally texted, Jia got caught in the rain yesterday and fell ill. I'm at the hospital with her. Let's do tomorrow instead. I'll take 2 more days off to spend proper time with you. But tomorrow never came for us. Whenever Tianjia appears, he never hesitates to choose her. Even though this time he was the one who asked me out, I saw this coming, so I'd already arranged for the director to pick me up. 6. The house was empty when I got home. Everyone had rushed to the hospital to be with Tianjia. No one got to say that final goodbye. I took nothing with me, just changed into my new clothes and made myself presentable. The car pulled up slowly, the director greeting me with a face full of sorrow. As if unable to bear it, he finally spoke to me. Zhuangxia, I'm giving you one final chance. Are you absolutely certain about severing ties with your family to devote yourself entirely to scientific research? I made this choice in my past life already. Back then, I chose family without regrets and became a full-time homemaker. As years wore on, Chongguang grew increasingly resentful toward me. When life's burdens crushed my health, he forced me into divorce while my own son saw me as worthless. I watched helplessly as Chongguang and Tianjia got together. The betrayal made me sick with rage. As I lay bedridden with my last breath, Chongguang married Tianjia in a lavish ceremony. My son's face twisted with scorn and contempt. You should have died long ago, wasting all these years for my father and Jiejia's mom. Upon learning of my death, old man he who'd been kept in the dark for so long collapsed in front of my humble grave, coughing up blood and rage until his last breath. In this lifetime, I refuse to repeat those same mistakes. Chongguang, this time it's me who's leaving you. I fixed my resolute gaze upon the director. Please trust my commitment to the cause. I pledge my life to our nation without hesitation or regret. The director's eyes glistened with moisture as he grasped my hand. Comrade Zhuangxia, no, your codename is Red Eagle now. Welcome to Project Qilin, you're one of us. The moment I boarded that vehicle, we became inhabitants of entirely separate worlds. The car traveled endlessly, weaving through neon-lit skyscrapers and bustling crowds past mountain ranges, across babbling streams, until finally disappearing into the heart of the wilderness. From then on, we parted ways with mutual understanding, each to find our peace, never to cross paths again. The entire He family was busy taking care of Tianjia. By the time they returned, several days had passed and it was already dusk. I used to always wait for them to come home, preparing warm meals. This time, Mrs. He knocked for ages but got no response. Furious, she yelled, "That lazy bum went to bed so early. I've been knocking forever and he still won't open the door." The group stomped their feet against the cold outside, finally relieved when the locksmith arrived. The house stood silent and empty when they pushed the door open. Everything remained exactly as they'd left it. Unwashed dishes lay forgotten in the sink, gathering a layer of mold. The starving boy wailed, "Mom, why didn't you cook? I'm sick of takeout. I want homemade food." Mother He's heart ached as she launched into another scolding tirade. "Where the hell is Xia? Not even cooking dinner. How dare she?" A faint unease crept into He Chongguang's heart. Dust coated his fingertip as he wiped the windowsill. Clearly no one had been home for days. Thick fear enveloped him like the night itself, when suddenly he remembered, "I promised to watch the movie with her. I completely forgot. She must be furious." He searched the entire house multiple times, even rummaging through the storage room, but couldn't find any trace of me. Tianjia pouted while nervously fidgeting with her fingers. "Did big sister run away because she was upset you were all paying attention to me?" Mother He flipped open the drawer and slammed my ID card on the table with absolute certainty. "All her documents are at home. How could she possibly run away? She doesn't even have that capability. Besides, she doesn't even have family to turn to. Where could she possibly go?" He Chongguang clutched his phone as he dialed my number, his heart tightening with each passing second until my phone's ringtone echoed from the guest bedroom. "Everything's here except me." The starving child clutched his stomach, wailing, "No, I want food now, Mrs." He gave Tianjia an awkward smile. "How about we try your cooking today?" Over the years, Tianjia had grown accustomed to my pampering. Though visibly reluctant, she quickly forced a smile. "Of course, no problem." The moment she turned around, her face twisted into a scowl as she dumped half a bag of salt into the cooking pot. She snapped viciously, "I'm marrying into your family as a daughter-in-law, not signing up to be your maid." The masterpiece made her son spit it out after one bite, while Mrs. He kept rinsing her mouth from the overwhelming saltiness. Tianjia blinked her teary eyes. "I'm really terrible at cooking, Mrs." He saw the situation clearly but couldn't bring herself to comment. The dining table became a scene of conflicting accounts, with only He Chongguang sitting dejectedly on the sofa. He seemed preoccupied, staring blankly at my last message while making frequent trips to glance out the door. For a day or two, we managed to maintain superficial harmony. Gradually, even Mother He grew anxious to have me back. The army had long demanded He Chongguang's return, yet he chose to defy orders just to wait for me in person. The family finally couldn't take it anymore and rushed to the police station to file a report. "Officer, I suspect my wife has been kidnapped." 7. He Chongguang, visibly distraught, pinned his last hope on the police. The officers asked him about my name, height, age, appearance, and workplace. He Chongguang hemmed and hawed for ages before realizing he knew nothing about me except my name. Even the police officers were speechless. "You came rushing in all frantic about finding your wife. I thought you actually cared. Turns out you don't even know these basic details." Blushing with embarrassment, He Chongguang finally remembered to produce their marriage certificate. The officer ran a thorough search through the system, then shot He Chongguang a suspicious glance. "This must be a fake ID. There's no record of anyone named Xia. Look carefully, this bears the official embossed seal. Xia is my wife." All traces of his usual composure vanished as He Chongguang shouted in desperation, "But your marital status shows as single." The officer then turned to his mother and advised, "Perhaps he's under too much stress. I'd recommend taking him to see a psychiatrist." With those words, everyone fell silent. It's impossible that everyone collectively hallucinated and imagined Xia into existence. He Chongguang stood frozen, his usually upright posture suddenly slackening. His son stood before him in the flesh, yet this marriage now felt like nothing more than a fleeting dream, as if Xia had never truly existed at all. After a moment's contemplation, Mother He's eyes suddenly lit up. "Perfect timing, saves you the divorce hassle. Hurry up and marry Jia. It'll still count as your first wedding. Tianjia shyly twisted the hem of her clothes between her fingers. No need for anything fancy, as long as I can be with Chongguang, I'd be happy with anything. When did I ever say I was marrying Tianjia? Chongguang cut in coldly. His gaze at Tianjia had never been so icy, as if looking at a complete stranger. Zhuang Xia is the only woman I'll ever call my wife. With that, he turned and strode out to the car. Tianjia kept chasing desperately, falling and bloodying his chin, yet Chongguang didn't even glance back. After exhausting all options, only one solution remained. Chongguang, who hadn't spoken to his father in years, finally broke the silence with a phone call. Upon learning the situation, his father rushed home overnight and flew into a rage. I've just been busy at the barracks, not dead. What the hell have you all been doing behind my back? If anything happens to Xia, I'll cut all ties with every single one of you. He pointed at Mother He's face, his teeth clenched in fury. If Xiao's parents hadn't saved me back then, you'd be the widow raising orphans now. How dare you force her into divorce? He glared at Chongguang with murderous intent in his eyes. If Xia hadn't donated her kidney to you despite her own health, you'd have been pushing up daisies long ago. With that, he slapped his pampered son hard across the face. When your mother was dying in childbirth, she chose to save you without hesitation. How dare you look down on her? And you, he gritted his teeth, pointing at Tianjia. You knew damn well my son was married, yet you kept clinging to him. Some military doctor you are. Get out of my house right now, and don't you dare show your face here again. Tianjia sobbed as she opened the door, glancing back repeatedly, but Chongguang never asked her to stay. The entire room fell deathly silent. Not even his own son dared make a sound. Overwhelmed by emotion, Old He's chronic condition flared up violently, leaving him clutching his chest on the sofa. Unable to move for a long while, Chongguang suddenly remembered something and produced the Chinese herbal medicine I'd prepared. Staring at the packets of traditional medicine, the old man couldn't hold back his tears as the wrapping was opened. An elegantly handwritten farewell letter slipped out. Dad, this is the last time I'll call you father. Thank you for taking care of me all these years. I never blamed you for my parents' death. As soldiers defending our country, they must have made that sacrifice willingly, without regrets. The bond between Chongguang and me has run its course. Let's not force what isn't meant to be. You're the only one I can't let go of. Please, take good care of yourself and live a long life. Don't ask about my whereabouts anymore. Don't worry about me. Zhuang Xia. Before finishing the letter, old man, he was already in tears. He flung the letter hard against Chongguang's face. See for yourself what you've done. Fumbling to pick up the letter, Chongguang's eyes darted across the page beneath his long lashes, glistening with unshed tears. Clutching the letter, he dropped to his knees before Elder He with a thud, eyes downcast. Having grown up together, I knew every ounce of his unyielding pride. He had never begged his father for anything. Even his current glorious achievements were earned through sheer determination, built step by step with blood and sweat. Yet now, he knelt devoutly at his father's feet. I know I was wrong. I'm begging you, help me find her. I'll apologize to her in person and beg for her forgiveness. Mister, his expression finally softened slightly. You'd better mean that. Yet despite reaching out to every connection he could think of, Mister, he came up empty-handed. As a last resort, he swallowed his pride and called his old commanding officer. After a while, the call came through. Chongguang's hopeful anticipation was met with a bolt from the blue. The voice on the other end spoke with grave sincerity. If even someone in my position can't access this information, you can imagine what's really going on. You should understand. Realization dawned on his father as he struck Chongguang across the face. There's no future between you two. Not now, not ever. Stop looking for her. Put this nonsense behind you and get back to your unit. Yet Chongguang refused to believe it. He couldn't believe I loved him so deeply yet had the heart to sever all ties between us. He scoured every corner of the house for traces of me, eventually unearthing a discarded parcel box containing documents in the storage room. Inside lay my Peking University admission letter, my Olympic math gold medal, and certificates from various international competitions. The person he'd always looked down upon turned out to be extraordinary. I relinquished all my glittering honors to devote myself wholeheartedly to caring for this home for him. Yet in the end, it was he who pushed me toward a horizon I could never reach in this lifetime. 5 years later, the base was compromised by spies, and several researchers met mysterious deaths. The organization dispatched their most elite special forces to assist with our evacuation. Though I tried to appear composed, He Chongwang's gaze cut through the crowd and pinned me effortlessly. A pair of strong hands suddenly clamped around me, tightening relentlessly. He Chongwang's eyes glistened, his voice trembling. Zhuang Xia, the senior disciples beside him shoved He Chongwang aside. What do you think you're doing? She's my wife, He Chongwang said, his eyes lighting up with the joy of reunion, only to have that light extinguished by my next words. Take a closer look. I don't know you, and we've never met. 5 years of experience have long since rid me of my former timidity. Instead, the sharp glint of competence in my eyes couldn't be faked. It took him a long moment before he lowered his gaze despondently, as if all vitality had been drained from him. Sorry, I mistook you for someone else. It's just, I miss my wife so much. As he left, his eyes lingered on me again and again with reluctance. In my past life, I watched him walk away. In this lifetime, he watched me leave, helplessly witnessing my figure fade from his sight once more. Powerless, anguished, yet resigned to fate. Rumor has it He Chongwang volunteered for an extremely dangerous mission. Upon returning on the battlefield, he channeled all his remorse into a relentless fury against the enemy. Like an unstoppable god of war, he achieved one miraculous victory after another. Even in his dying breath, my name was the only word whispered from his lips. He left no words for the He family, yet for me alone, a final letter remained. My wife, Zhuang Xia, are you doing well out there? I miss you terribly. 5 years have passed, yet the harder I try to forget you, the more uncontrollably I yearn for you. During meals, on walks, whenever I remember how you gave me new life, my heart breaks knowing how deeply I've hurt you. I've come to loathe myself. I wish I could give you back every moment of my existence. It's like I'm cursed with an incurable sickness. Hallucinations of our past haunt me. I refuse to wake from them. When I saw you again, for a fleeting moment I thanked heaven for returning you to me, but when you refused to acknowledge me, I finally understood. The regrets of the past can never be undone. Perhaps only death can bring an end to everything. I'm not one to write farewell letters. Dying for my country is my destiny. By the time you read this, I'll likely be dust in the wind. I'll become a star in the sky, or perhaps just data in your computer. I'll watch over you forever. Your husband, He Chongwang. After finishing the letter, I flicked my lighter and set it aflame. Watching it slowly turn to ashes felt like relinquishing fragments of my past. I honor his heroic sacrifice for our nation, but as my former husband, I will never forgive him. I later learned that He Chongwang had cut off all contact with Tianjia after I left. Tianjia tried to use their son to cling to him, but He Chongwang was ruthless enough to abandon even his own child. For 5 straight years, he never once left the military base. Tianjia was later dishonorably discharged from the military for committing a serious offense. With this black mark on her record, no employer would hire her anywhere. Left with no options, she returned to her hometown hoping to marry into money, only to end up with an abusive drunk. Tianjia was beaten black and blue every day. The son has matured considerably, often speaking of his mother with nothing but guilt and remorse in his words. Old Mrs. He collapsed from grief at Chongwang's funeral and was later diagnosed with hemiplegia at the hospital. But none of this has anything to do with me anymore. I buried myself in calculations, retreating into my own world of data. Henceforth, I pledge my heart to China, and dedicate my years to her mountains and rivers. Story 2. He Linchuan and I were betrothed in our youth. We confessed our feelings early on. After marriage, tensions arose because of his mentor's daughter Gu Xiaoyun. During our worst fights, I called him a disgusting creep who'd eventually coax our mentor's daughter into his bed. He glared at me with bloodshot eyes, seething with hatred. Barrenness violates the 7 grounds for divorce. Had I known you'd be this unreasonable, I'd have dumped you to make room for her. After rebirth, he completely dropped his confrontational attitude. They sent Gu Xiaoyun away to another household early on, hoping for a second chance to make things right with me, but he never knew my hand was already promised to another man's son. I was reborn a year earlier than He Linchuan. Through my guidance, my parents discovered the ambiguous relationship between He Linchuan and Gu Xiaoyun. The matter of breaking off the engagement, both families had already settled it discreetly. It just hasn't been announced yet. On this day, I sat with my family brewing tea and admiring the snowfall. My second sister-in-law suddenly mentioned him. That He family fellow is really baffling. He suddenly sent his teacher's daughter to live with another family, and now he wants his parents to formally adopt her as their goddaughter. She even shot me a sideways glance as she said it. Second brother rubbed his nose awkwardly. Both families already called off the engagement. Why bring him up now? I was the one who investigated his whole mess with that girl in the first place. Mother sat nearby peeling roasted tangerines. After taking one segment, she distributed the rest. Everyone popped them into their mouths unsuspectingly. only to be hit with such sourness that their faces twisted in agony. Second brother and his wife ended up with disproportionately large shares. Father hesitated with the remaining piece before tossing it before second brother. What's this? Your sister shows no regret, yet you two are the ones having second thoughts. Second brother felt utterly wronged and blurted out, nonsense, but that lad's been stealing the spotlight lately. When word gets out about our sister calling off the engagement, it'll make our family look like we can't recognize true talent. That's more like it. Father's expression softened as he instructed. He's currently riding high. Best not mention the broken engagement. We mustn't give outsiders reason to doubt his character, nor tarnish his reputation. After all, the emperor favors him now. We mustn't spoil his majesty's good mood. Since winter began, Helinquin has been up to his usual petty maneuvers. First, he made rounds conducting inspections everywhere. Upon returning, he submitted a memorial to the throne claiming the people's dwellings were dilapidated and ill-prepared for disasters. With most villagers idle during winter, he proposed seizing the opportunity to repair houses before next year's rainy season caused collapses. His Majesty readily agreed, but getting funds from the Ministry of Revenue was like squeezing blood from a stone. After endless haggling, He Linchuan barely secured a pittance. He swallowed his pride and started borrowing from acquaintances, our family included. That's when I knew He Linchuan had been reborn too. But this is a good thing. I've also made a monetary donation, though I've made preparations in private. I don't intend to show them publicly. Extraordinary occurrences only invite unnecessary trouble. Helinquin has everything well prepared. Heavy snowfall arrived in late November and lasted for days. Thanks to prior preparations, many commoners were spared from disaster, and all the charcoal I stockpiled was sold out. This discouraged those who had considered price gouging. After the blizzard ended, numerous townspeople came to express gratitude to the government officers. After this incident, Helinquin became the talk of the town. Even the emperor took notice of him. Whispers spread that he was blessed with good fortune. Many openly or privately lamented his early betrothal, believing he deserved better prospects. Mother sighed with mixed emotions. By sending her away, he clearly knows his relationship with Miss Gu is improper. But if he wants to cut ties, he'll need the other party's consent. Admittedly, Mother hit the nail on the head. Gu Xiaoyun was never one to accept fate in her past life. Whenever things didn't go her way, she was so heartbroken that she refused to eat or perhaps resign from He Linchuan and return alone to her hometown. Always managing to make others the villain, brimming with grievances, she kept everything to herself. Unless He Linchuan sweet-talked her into it, one was sulking while the other coaxed, acting all lovey-dovey yet insisting they were purely innocent, as if nothing improper had happened. I actually thought He Linchuan would come cancel our engagement after his rebirth, rushing to marry Gu Xiaoyun. Why did they send him away? Could they have found out about our broken engagement, planning to cut ties with Gu Xiaoyun first, looking for another easy mark? Too, the reason soon became clear to me. To my surprise, he came looking for me at the Zhang residence. Mother had to tell him I was ill to send him away, then immediately came to discuss the matter with me. A chill ran down my spine. Thank goodness I'm such a homebody who hates the cold. Had we met outside, him confronting me directly would have been disastrous. We can't go on like this forever, Mother said with clear reproach in her voice. Has Aunt Lian even told the child what's happened? The betrothal's already been called off between our families. Aunt Lian was He Linchuan's mother. The engagement had been arranged precisely because Madame He and my mother were close friends. At the thought of her, my expression darkened. She probably still intends to change both our minds. People always show favoritism toward those they're close to. Before, I wouldn't have dared say this about Mrs. He in front of my mother. She'd scold me for being disrespectful. Now her displeasure is obvious. I need to make her see that Mrs. He is first and foremost Linchuan's mother, and only then her friend. Breaking off the engagement would tarnish both families' reputations. Forget about my standing or Helen Chuan's. Just backing out last minute makes both households appear untrustworthy. Marriage has always been transactional at its core. More allies mean more paths forward at court. Having extra voices to echo your stance, or additional intelligence channels, makes all the difference. This marriage alliance brings many advantages. The one thing it doesn't require is affection between me and He Linchuan. In the future, should he desire concubines or maids, I'd have no right to oppose his wishes. He had no business getting involved with the professor's daughter, flirting yet refusing to acknowledge it. Gu Xiaoyun's status simply wasn't that of a concubine. Then what exactly was he after? Making her a co-wife perhaps? When some random person suddenly appeared to claim a share of what's rightfully mine, my parents couldn't just sit back and do nothing. After all, We're talking about noble titles and family fortunes here, only the legitimate heirs get the lion's share. Watching mother's expression carefully, I continued, next time someone asks, you could say our childhood betrothal was arranged too early, that we were too young to understand. Tell them I've always seen He Lin Chuan as an elder brother, making it impossible to cross that line. At first glance, this sounds like a raw deal, makes me seem odd and capricious. Mother paused thoughtfully, then suddenly laughed. You're setting them up for failure. 3. As his fiancé, I see He Lin Chuan more like a blood brother. Gu Chaoyun, who was staying at He Lin Chuan's place, ended up getting involved with him. I said meaningfully, she wants to marry him. This affair will inevitably come to light. When the time comes, I'll have my mother pull the strings she planted. Someone will surely bring it up. A flicker of anger crossed mother's face. I know exactly what you're implying. No one understands their own children better than a mother. She refuses to admit her son's faults and expects us to tolerate this humiliation, sharing him like some common trophy. How could I possibly swallow such an insult? He Lin Chuan and Gu Xiaoyun grew close. Mother he had known all along, but what mother would complain about her son being popular? It's not her son who's suffering the consequences anyway. As I was figuring out how to give Gu Xiaoyun a nudge, mother moved closer and gave my shoulder a comforting squeeze. This is all my fault for not choosing better back then, making you go through this mess. I leaned against her shoulder and said, even a dog has its own mind, let alone a human. It's a blessing to discover these things before marriage. I thought this would comfort her. Instead of being reassured, she looked at me with concern. Tell me truthfully, did you already suspect his secret dealings with Gu Chaoyun? Were you afraid to speak up because you thought our family wouldn't annul the engagement? Her gentle eyes brimmed with tender concern for me. My heart quivered. They'd noticed my changes all along. Nonsense, I said. He never once mentioned Gu Chaoyun in all our years of acquaintance. I only knew his family had such a person, precisely because it was never mentioned. We'd all unconsciously overlooked her. Even my family holds He Lin Chuan in the highest regard. Everyone admires his noble act of taking in his teacher's daughter, never doubting his propriety. Mother gently nuzzled my head. It's just, you've grown so mature lately. Her voice softened, as if you've weathered countless storms. Sometimes when I watch you from afar, you seem so profoundly lonely. The weight of sorrow grows lighter with carrying. Can't bear to hear words of concern. A decade's worth of heartache flooded in an instant. My throat clenched shut, silencing me completely. These agonizing days, it's been far too long. I wanted to say I died before 30, wanted to say they met their end too, but the words caught in my throat. Just like many years ago, I sobbed that I wanted to go home, but mother's response was, if you come back, what about your sister's wedding? Later it became, you can't bear children. Remarrying would mean raising someone else's kids. Married to a man 20 years your senior, enduring that foul old man stench. Would that make you happy? Back then, I was so devastated my hair kept falling out. I always feel like no one truly understands what I'm going through. Yet her words rang true. All women face this. Marriage is a gamble. I cried out in anguish. I'll never marry anyone. My words provoked her furious retort. Even if you shave your head and become a nun, without protection you'll still face oppression. Marriage is the only way out. Memories flooded back, leaving nothing but bitterness on my tongue. I forced a playful tone with mother. Nonsense, I was just thinking, if I marry into that family without proper arrangements, imagine the humiliation I'd endure. The very thought makes my heart ache. No wonder I'm feeling down. Mother sighed endlessly. You always overthink everything. I'd heard those words countless times back in the day. I would have taken offense at such labels and visibly sulked. Now I can just chuckle and let it roll off my shoulders. Turning to her with a smile, I said, thank goodness Mom's got my back, or I'd be drowning in tears. I've experienced both disappointment and understanding with my family until the moment before death. Under my persistent questioning, the maid Jishuan collapsed in tears by the bedside, clutching my hand as she sobbed. Fourth madam has gone into labor. The old mistress was too concerned to stay away and has gone to oversee matters personally. She likely won't return until tomorrow. Dear mistress, please hold on a little longer. Just a little longer, won't you? At that moment, I became acutely aware I may not be my parents' only child, but they're my only parents, so it's only natural to place high expectations on them. As for understanding their struggles, that's completely unnecessary, especially when facing adversity. Understanding them only multiplies the pain when reciprocity is absent, for in the blink of an eye, It was time for the eldest sister's child's first birthday celebration. Mother had gone over to stay a couple days earlier. I went over with my elder brothers and their wives that same day. The two families were related by marriage. We younger ones were all quite familiar with each other. Upon arrival, I dismissed the maids and wandered alone to the back quarters. Chen Wenchu's face lit up when she saw me, calling her sister Chen Wenjing over. "You've been going on about Minju every day, and here she is. You two don't need to stick around here. Go have fun." Wenjing had been fidgeting impatiently, grabbing my arm. She urged, "Come on, let's get out of here before my second sister starts assigning chores again." I hurried after her in a rush. From behind us came Wenchu's hushed shout, "Slow down. You two." As we walked further away, Chen Wenjing slowed her pace, hooked her arm through mine, and whispered close to my ear, "Is it true you called off the engagement with the He family?" I nodded firmly. "You think I'd joke about something like this?" Chen Wenjing frowned. "Yesterday my mother happened to ask if you were getting married next year. Your mother said you've known He Linchuan so long he feels like a brother, and the idea of marrying him just seems awkward. She claimed you're being stubborn about breaking the engagement." She gave me a once-over, even reaching to feel my forehead. "Others might not know, but I do. You've been dying to marry him. How could you suddenly call it off?" Major life transitions. Loved ones always worry about me first, but pure affection seems to only last until marriage. I used to think my parents didn't understand me. Friends are supposed to know me best. When things got really heated between me and He Linchuan, he brought in a bunch of mediators. Among them was Chen Wenjing. After arguing fruitlessly for a long time, she grew irritated. "The fact that he reached out to me proves he still cares for you, but love withers with every quarrel. If you keep this up, you'll only drive him straight into Gu Chaoyun's arms." Through tears, I told her, I never meant to make things difficult for her, but in all our conflicts, big and small, he's never once stood up for me or believed me. If they're so perfectly matched, why bring an outsider like me into this misery? The unconditional trust of childhood sweethearts. It all fell apart when Gu Chaoyun appeared. That unspoken understanding between us shifted into their every word and gesture, because they were childhood sweethearts too. He defended her with all his heart. What I heard most was, "She's not that kind of person. She's already suffered enough losing her family. Why must you target her?" It started with just minor oversights and arrangements. I couldn't even tell if it was the servant's negligence or Gu Chaoyun's deliberate doing, making me seem like some petty mistress. Perhaps Gu Xiaoyun had long since whispered to He Linchuan, "When Zhang Minju marries into this household, should I keep my distance? Would my presence upset her?" And similar poisonous words. Even before my wedding, she'd already marked me as her enemy, laying trap after trap that drove an irreparable wedge between He Linchuan and me. As trust crumbled, we descended into madness, tearing at each other like wounded beasts. His summoning of Chen Wenjing to counsel me, merely repayment for favors granted to her husband. His invitation to my parents, a brutal reminder that retreat was never an option. When hatred turned its gaze upon me, he exhausted every means to break my will. All that came before these truths I alone carry. Under Chen Wenjing's probing gaze, I countered with confusion. These past few years, the more I observe He Linchuan, the more he resembles my second brother. If you know anyone interested in him, they'd better act fast before he gets engaged to someone else. Chen Wenjing bit her lip sheepishly. "What about me? Would you be upset if it were me?" I let out an abrupt laugh. Beneath her fearful, evasive gaze, she said airily, "I couldn't care less who he marries, but let me make this clear. If things go south, don't come blaming me. After all, I've never lived with him, so who knows what he's like as a husband. After all, she'd been so vehement in her warnings in our past life. Maybe she doesn't mind Helen Chuan's peculiarities. Maybe they'll be doing just fine." Just then, a man's voice suddenly came from behind. Someone's voice abruptly trailed off. A joyful voice called out, "Minju." 5. I turned toward the sound. Jiang Shui came trotting over and linked arms with me affectionately. "Surprise, I've been holding back on writing to you just for this moment." Her sudden appearance genuinely caught me off guard. In my past life, she completely missed my eldest sister's child's first birthday celebration. Why is she showing up unannounced now? Could there be others who were reborn? My startled heartbeat still hadn't calmed. A clear, gentle voice spoke up, "Minju, it's been a while." My hands at my sides suddenly trembled. The Jiang family elders were close with my uncle. I used to visit my maternal grandparents' home. The children from my uncles and the Jiang families would take me around to play. Only Jiang Yuxing, busy with his studies, rarely joined our games. I always bring back little trinkets for him. No particular reason, just that as a child drawn to pretty things, I found this kind older boy handsome and gentle. and couldn't help wanting to sneak closer for another look. Besides, he always seemed a bit down, so I'd try to cheer him up. That time when I was 10, I accidentally witnessed him being punished. No sooner had his father disciplined him than he turned around and nearly beat his half-brother to death. Jiang Yuxing stepped on his half-brother's hand with a chilling smile, growling, "Tell your concubine mother this, next time, I'll have you chopped up and fed to the dogs." Blinded by rage, he never noticed me trailing behind him like a shadow. When he turned around, he saw the sheer terror on my face. After that incident, I never dared to approach him again. Even when we crossed paths, I'd just mumble a few words with my head down before hurrying away. I could have lived with just that. Only when I grew up did I finally understand his struggles. His mother passed away when he was young. He was mistreated by his stepmother at home. At his most unhinged moments it happened to be the year his grandmother passed away. The trouble was his inexplicable obsession with me. Later, he learned about my falling out with He Linchuan. He orchestrated chance encounters when I went out, seducing me to betray He Linchuan for an affair with him. The shame and anger I felt upon hearing those words still lingers in my memory. And now, there he was, appearing out of nowhere. I couldn't bring myself to be cold, so I forced a gentle tone and asked, "When did you arrive?" "Just yesterday." "Minju, would you mind showing Shuer around? She's never been to Yongqing before and isn't familiar with the area." "No problem." I thought we could wrap up the small talk in a few words, but then came a sharp, accusatory voice. "Zhang Minju, what's the meaning of this? Why would you call off the engagement with my brother out of the blue?" Helinquin's sister He Chiu was storming toward me in a rage. This was the only path to the inner courtyard. Hearing the commotion, many female guests immediately decided against proceeding further. I smiled good-naturedly. "Look at you, getting all worked up. After 10 years of friendship, even if I can't be your sister-in-law, aren't I still your sister?" He Chiu's expression froze as she pressed on relentlessly. "There must be a reason for this. Give me a proper explanation, or people will start spreading rumors about my brother." "Well," I glanced around hesitantly before confessing helplessly, "we're too familiar with each other. Whenever I see your brother, it's like looking at my own elder brother. I always get chills down my spine, terrified of being scolded." "That's no exaggeration. Before I married He Linchuan, highly sensitive with a strong sense of justice, never one to let inappropriate remarks slide without a debate. Because of this, my family often scolds me for being so headstrong. Whenever He Linchuan happened by, he'd first shield me from those who resorted to violence when losing arguments, then rap my head like a public scolding. To outsiders, it actually looked like he was doting on me. Gu Xiaoyun had exploited my temperament from the very beginning. She sowed endless discord between He Linchuan and me. Now, his past protectiveness has ironically become the very issue I'm complaining about. It's also proof of how he publicly disciplined me. He Chiu was incredulous. "You're breaking off the engagement with my brother over this?" He Linchuan appeared unnoticed. "What broken engagement?" 6. My shoulders relaxed the moment I saw him arrive. "Brother He, you must remember, our betrothal was dissolved 6 months ago. Aunt insisted we delay the announcement to protect my reputation." When our eyes met, he froze in place. Everything became clear. It seems he finally realized I returned earlier than he did. He responded with unconcealed regret, explaining, "Mother thought you were too young, worried you might just be going through a phase, so she didn't make this matter public, and so the matter was quietly dropped. As long as he wants to avoid damaging his reputation, he'd never drag this out with me. Besides, he should know I won't look back. In our past life, we ended things too bitterly. His making amends depends entirely on my ignorance. Otherwise he wouldn't be so eager to see me, to see if I'm still the Jiang Minju who trusted him wholeheartedly." As our group dispersed, the onlookers gradually drifted away. He Linchuan is currently in favor. When people learn I insisted on breaking off our engagement 6 months ago, they'll just laugh at my poor judgment. This works out fine. Though I ended the betrothal, it didn't tarnish his reputation. As long as it doesn't tarnish his current reputation, His Majesty wouldn't hesitate to employ him. Besides, it was He Chiu who kicked up the fuss first. The guilt-ridden He family wouldn't dare slander me further. On the contrary, they'd lament to others about the failed marriage arrangement. After all, Gu Xiaoyun was the reason I broke off the engagement with He Linchuan. Pushing this matter would only end in mutual destruction. The scandal stirred up quite a fuss, so I kept a low profile to avoid prying questions. I simply went to my little nephew's room to play with him instead. My elder sister looked at me with concern. "I've heard about the commotion outside. Are you all right?" While keeping my little nephew in stitches, I casually replied, "No big deal, I saw this coming." She didn't know this was all part of my plan, the lengths I went to prepare this. is the best possible outcome given the circumstances. Seeing how uneasy elder sister looked, I said, they'll just gossip for a while, there are always new scandals. Our little drama is nothing special. Elder sister fretted, God knows what your brother-in-law was thinking, actually considering marrying Wenjing into the He family. At this, I paused mid-motion and casually handed my little nephew to the wet nurse nearby. Sister, don't come probing me. If they want to marry their daughter into the He family, let them investigate the He's themselves. The concerns I have may not matter to them at all. Leaning back on the nearby chaise lounge, I reminded her, you've finally been blessed with a son after so long. Sister, your priority now is caring for this child. Let others handle these matters. Why trouble yourself with such worries? I didn't wait for my elder sister's rebuttal. I frowned and pressed on. If things go badly later, she won't dare resent her own mother, but she'll certainly blame you. That left my elder sister completely speechless, yet she couldn't help muttering, you really have no tact, do you? I laughed bitterly and stood up abruptly. If I lacked tact, would I be here speaking to you so frankly? I should have just mumbled some empty pleasantries. That remark cuts deep. Sister, don't expect me to overstep again, the elder sister sighed. Can't I even scold you a little? I stormed out the door without another word. A gust of wind hit me as I reached the doorway. My mind suddenly cleared considerably. It was wrong to condescendingly lecture elder sister just because I knew how things would unfold. Her intentions toward Chen Wenjing were genuinely good. That much was true. In their past life, she had been the matchmaker who arranged Chen Wenjing's marriage. The groom was her friend's younger brother, a cautious, methodical man with slow career advancement, which clashed with Chen Wenjing's expectations and led to constant friction between them. Bitter at heart, she never missed a chance to throw shade at our eldest sister during visits home. Whenever eldest sister recounted this at home afterward, she'd be filled with regret. I kicked the doorframe to snap my daydreaming sister out of it, then sulkily demanded, you're so good at sweet-talking Minhui, why can't you do the same for me? Eldest sister burst out laughing, all right, I'll pamper you right now. She came over and gave me a hug, saying, you're right, it's not good to meddle too much in life's big decisions. My little sister really does care about me more. I smiled demurely, you bet, yet this kind of civil interaction did nothing to lift my spirits. I know my eldest sister will always side with her husband's family. From her wedding day onward, she became one of the Chens. These family ties will only grow stronger, just like my mother became the mother of the Zhang children. 7. The first birthday banquet has concluded. Mother began making arrangements for my potential marriage prospects. Minhui frowned in displeasure. At such a sensitive time, how could we possibly find suitable candidates? Who knows if some might just be here for the spectacle. As I browsed through the portraits, I unexpectedly spotted Chen Wenjing's husband from her past life. Perfect timing to filter them out and minimize future interactions. That's exactly right, Mother said bluntly. Trouble reveals people's true colors. Putting down the portrait, I suddenly said, but I don't quite like this approach. Mother paused before replying, I'll have someone keep watch. They wouldn't dare misbehave. Minhui glanced between us and tactfully changed her tone. Third sister, don't worry, Mother would never let anyone bully you. I didn't press the matter further. Mother's decisions always came as pronouncements after careful consideration. Mother settled on the second son of Marquis Chinan's household. Arrange a meeting. Among all the candidates, his status wasn't the most exalted. If I remember correctly, he ranked exactly second. The one with higher status is the heir of Prince Yu. Mother made inquiries. This second son of the Shin family has a gentle temperament and handles affairs with grace. Given your stubborn nature, having a mild-mannered husband would be ideal. Both families have confirmed their mutual interest. The Shin family first sent Shin Ke to deliver some gifts to my father. After meeting him, father couldn't stop praising. This young man is remarkably learned yet refreshingly modest. Mother inquired about the health of his elderly family members. To our surprise, he responded with perfect courtesy. I also discussed some health preservation methods with my mother, just as the matchmaker said. Her words carried real substance. 2 days later, the Shin family sent an invitation to test the waters. If everything meets your satisfaction, Mother would take Minhui and me to the banquet. If displeased, she wouldn't bring us along. Not only did Mother take us, she also brought generous gifts. I knew it all too well. Today's meeting serves as the final evaluation. Firstly, the Shin family elders wanted to meet me in person. Secondly, it was arranged for Shin Ke to have a brief conversation with me. Everything went quite smoothly. Old Madam Shin didn't summon Shin Ke directly. Instead, she had Shin Ke's younger sister show me around. As we rounded the corridor, the view opened up before us, but when I saw the stone path across the lake, a story I'd heard in my past life at Peach Blossom Hermitage suddenly flashed through my mind. When I went to Peach Blossom Nunnery to light the eternal lamp, I asked everyone to leave during my prayer, but weakened from a recent drowning, I fainted mid-prayer. Upon waking, Abbess Mingxin told me it was the lampkeeper Huiyan who saved me. I wished to thank her in person, but Abbess Mingxin said Huiyan receives no visitors. She told me Huiyan was a tragic soul. She was once an aristocratic maiden, at marriageable age. She encountered a wolf in sheep's clothing. During their meeting, someone pushed her into a lake. The scoundrel had his servants rescue her only to verbally humiliate her afterward, taking pleasure in tarnishing women's virtue. When Huiyan denounced him, his spotless reputation made people claim she'd gone mad with desperation, scheming to trap him in marriage. The younger Shin sister walking ahead looked puzzled. Minju, what's wrong? Snapping out of my reverie, I was really overthinking things. Smiling at her, I said, it's nothing. Where are we headed? She chuckled. Along. They're all fishing up ahead, let me show you. But she remained unaware of it herself. In that split second of shared laughter, she made an almost imperceptible movement. It was the slow blink after staring at me for what felt like ages, and the way her shoulders sank with that held breath finally being released. Every hair on my body stood on end as my instincts kicked in. The moment I became aware, her subtle shifts seemed to unfold in slow motion before my eyes, becoming painfully clear. She walked ahead without turning back like other guides would, almost as if avoiding my gaze, keeping her back to me the entire time. I don't want to gamble. Following behind me were Jixuan and Minhui along with an unfamiliar maid who kept her head bowed. Technically, I could let them go first. This way we can skip this step, but mother is quite pleased with Shinku. Shinku has an excellent reputation. It goes without saying she wouldn't believe me, probably looking at me with those disappointed eyes. Then saying, you're just overthinking things. My heart pounded like wildfire as I nervously glanced around. Your garden is absolutely lovely. A sudden thought flashed through my mind. Perfect. We're alone. Quicker than words could tell, my hands moved faster than thought. In that instant, I whirled around and yanked the approaching maid, flinging her aside with force. Splash, pushed her straight into the lake. Someone just fell into the water over here. Nearby, 2 people dove in without hesitation. Plop, plop, perfect. I knew I was right, so it was the Shin family who brought disaster to Huiyan in my past life. The Shin girl stared at the lake in shock. I hitched up my skirt and kicked her right into the water. Soon enough, the 2 of them were rescued, just not from this cobblestone path. They were taken up another way instead. I gathered my skirts and hurried over. Quite a crowd here. People gathered and buzzed with discussions, pointing fingers at those who fell into the water. My gaze swept over the 4 in the water. The moment I recognized one of them was he. Lin Chuan laughed. How absurd. Never expected him to be the other jumper. Who did he think was the person that fell into the water? What was he trying to achieve by pretending to rescue someone? Shinku's eyes blazed with fury as she turned to us and demanded sharply, Miss Zhang, why did you push my sister? I looked utterly bewildered. This is my first time meeting the Shin family's daughter. We've never had any quarrel. Why would I push her? Clearly she was startled by the commotion when that maid fell in. Minhui reacted swiftly, pointing at the drenched servant. How peculiar. From here, you can't even see that side of the pond. How did your household know someone fell in? Shinku, realizing their scheme was about to be exposed, hastily defended. We heard the commotion and sensed something amiss. Clearly, this is all just a misunderstanding. Jixuan was a beat slower to catch on. When the realization finally dawned, her face flushed crimson with rage as she tugged at my sleeve, protesting loudly, Miss, we must leave at once. They were obviously lying in wait here, jumping into the water at the slightest sound. Who knows what the Shin family is plotting? Did they mean to push you in but end up falling themselves? Sensing the tension, Shinku strode over to stop me. I shouted angrily, stay back, you lecherous scoundrel. The woman's frantic struggles and panic, it only served to excite the man further. In the chaos, I yanked out my hairpin, drew the concealed blade from it, and plunged it deep into Shinku's arm before viciously twisting it upward and pulling it free. Ah, my arm. Never had I been so acutely aware of my own actions. The instant blood came spurting out. The terrified screams of bystanders rang in my ears. The words of Master Mingxin resurfaced in my mind once more. Had this humble nun not entered the Buddhist path, I might have become a demon instead. To my eyes, many people are like hogs awaiting slaughter. Shameful as it is to admit, my family used to butcher pigs. The blade goes in, then you twist it sideways to slit the artery. That's how you drain the blood clean. Sometimes I reckon certain folks are just like those swine. their very flesh would stink up the pot. I have no regrets. The Buddha couldn't save me, but a blade can. After completing this gruesome task, I grabbed Minhui and Jixuan and ran back. We sprinted all the way, and before even reaching the door, I burst into tears screaming, "Mom, help me." Mom turned and saw my state. She was instantly terrified. "What happened? Where are you hurt?" The woman accompanying them also panicked. "Shinku is trying to kill me." I tearfully recounted what had happened over there. She immediately had her attendants escort me away, then commanded, "Minhui, go fetch your father at once." With a quick acknowledgement, Minhui dashed out ahead with her maidservant in tow, supporting Jixuan's trembling arm. I turned to look behind us. The furious mother finally snapped, hurling a teacup at the Shen family while snarling, "This isn't over." 9. I gave Jixuan's hand a squeeze and fainted dramatically. Jixuan burst into tears. "Miss, don't scare me like this." The commotion suddenly intensified. Back home, I methodically listed everyone present there who might be involved in this matter and who could potentially lend a hand. My father patted my shoulder reassuringly. "Don't worry, just get some rest and don't overthink things." He then motioned for Minhui to follow him. I stood there blankly, staring at their retreating figures. Jixuan came in carrying a basin of hot water, the warm towel pressed against my face. "It snapped me out of my daze," I murmured. "Who knows what'll happen next?" Jixuan suddenly burst into tears while wiping my face. "Whatever comes, I'll face it with you, miss." I dipped my hands in warm water to wash them clean, laughing heartily. "Then you'll come with me to Peach Blossom Nunnery as a nun. I've already thought of our Dharma names. I'll be Serene Wisdom, and you'll be Bamboo Wisdom." That's what I said, but I couldn't bear the thought of her suffering alongside me. Packed everything meticulously. Jixuan was just about to take that blood-stained hairpin. I stopped her gently. "You don't need to take this." When she turned to look at me, tears suddenly fell again like stones dropping into my tranquil heart, scalding me with such intensity that I nearly cried too. She said, "Don't be afraid, dear, we're home now." I blinked awkwardly and murmured, keeping it would give me some peace of mind. In the end, I never wore the hairpin. When Jixuan returned, I was still sitting there in a daze. She urged me to get some rest, but the sword hanging over my head never fell. How could I possibly sleep? I waited till nightfall. When my parents finally returned, Mother came rushing over. The moment our eyes met, my heart leaped into my throat. Clutching my skirt nervously, I whispered, "Mother, I've made a terrible mistake." She rushed to embrace me, murmuring soothingly, "Hush now. It's all right. You've done nothing wrong. Everyone saw how he refused to let you leave. The whole world knows they reaped what they sowed when their scheme backfired." I nestled helplessly in her arms, enveloped in tender warmth as she recounted what happened after I left. Many young people stood by my side and spoke up for me. Anyone with half a brain who's associated with Shen Ku knows people would naturally side with you, rather than risk defending a villain. It's safer to distance themselves by joining the condemnation. No one wants to be tainted. The easiest way to stay clean is to join the chorus denouncing Shen Ku. "But I've hurt someone," I said, pointing to the hairpin on the tray. "This was specially made. I bought it for self-defense. It's razor sharp, and I deliberately severed his tendons." Mother gritted her teeth in fury. "Good riddance. I'd have slit his throat myself. Tomorrow your father will take this to the emperor. We'll accuse Marquis Qingyan of failing to discipline his son, allowing him to assault a young girl. Justice is on our side." The Shen family could run themselves ragged, but they'll never protect Shen Ku now. Events unfolded exactly as Mother had predicted. The verdict came the very next day. Marquis Qingyan was suspended from office, and Shen Ku was permanently barred from official service. The Shen family sent Shen Ku far away to spare his life. Mother combed my hair herself and said, "Our Zhang family doesn't court trouble, but we don't shrink from it either. He deliberately tarnished a woman's reputation and sought to ruin your virtue. This outrage has stirred public anger. Every family has daughters. It wasn't just your father who impeached him." Everyone present was furious. "Had it not been you yesterday, it would have been someone else's daughter, undoubtedly the daughter of someone closely connected to the Shen family." 10. As I listened to her speak, my mind began to wander. I used to think my family disliked me because of my personality, but now I realize that might not be the case. After my eldest sister married, she repeatedly came back to ask our parents for favors to advance her husband's career. Her parents found her annoying, but never abandoned her. Second brother was considered the family's pillar. In truth, he was temperamental, loud and prone to impulsiveness. Though often scolded by their parents, he still received their guidance. The youngest sister plays the delicate card, always needing others' attention, yet ends up getting the whole family's support. Only me, seemingly knowledgeable, yet only scratching the surface of every issue. It often takes me ages to finally connect the dots. Turns out those past events had far deeper underlying issues buried beneath. I always thought my parents blamed me for quarreling with Gu Chaoyun to the point of pushing He Linchuan toward Gu Chaoyun. At this moment, it suddenly dawned on me they're angry that when I first noticed something was wrong, I didn't make a scene immediately. My momentary restraint only emboldened Helen Chuan and Zhao Yungu's interactions, yet I couldn't maintain patience indefinitely as the entanglement between the two families deepened. Zhao Yungu and Helen Chuan deceived everyone through underhanded means, increasingly appearing justified on the surface. By the time I made my move, the Zhang family had already lost the upper hand. Thinking about all this, I completely broke down in tears. Turns out I could have gotten divorced. I was just afraid of being judged. A moment's hesitation cost me the opportunity completely. Hey, what's wrong? Why are you crying? Second brother's anxious voice came from outside the house. His wife gave him a light slap. Keep it down. Min Hui pushed the door open and came straight in. Are you alright, sis? Mother sighed in relief, holding me close. It's good that you cried. This is my fault. As she spoke, her eyes welled up with tears too. I hugged her tightly. How could this be your fault? That monster chose to do evil. He fooled everyone with his act. Nobody could have seen this coming. Even without me, there would still be Huiyan. Even before the incident, I thought the Shin family was quite decent in my past life. Even Master Mingxin only spoke of the matter without naming names. Clearly, this matter never got out. What filthy scum, to think you'd been playing the saint all this time. You're just too obedient. Mother's tears soaked my neck. I never knew how to handle you. Your eldest sister plays the fool so well. I never worry about her getting shortchanged. Your little sister's been mischievous since childhood, always getting into trouble the moment I look away, but you were always so well behaved. By the time I realized, we'd already grown distant. Her words caught me completely off guard, but this time I understood what she meant. She didn't want me to be too obedient, without an edge. You'll just get bullied. I laughed through tears. Since when do good kids stab people with knives? Mother held me tighter in her arms. She was clearly still shaken by what had happened. I regretted bringing up the knife incident. This was our unspoken understanding. Why on earth would someone keep such a deadly weapon at hand, and how did they even know the technique to sever tendons? Thankfully, Min Hui came over and snuggled up against me, pouting pitifully. I was scared to death. Won't Mother comfort me too? Fortunately, Mother didn't press the matter. What's done is done. Dwelling on the past serves no purpose. 11. The next time we met was already 2 months later. Because of the incident where I injured someone with a knife, the number of applicants has significantly decreased, but there are some new candidates now. The previously submitted applications have been screened. Father shortlisted 3 candidates based on the gathered information. Among them were Jiang Yuxing of the Jiang family, Gu Fei, Chen Wenjing's husband in her past life, and Lu Ming, heir to the Prince of Yu, after the incident with Shen Ku. Mother became much more open with me. She picked up Jiang Yuxing's invitation card and began explaining it to me in detail. Thanks to your uncle's connections, I know the Jiang family quite well. Yuxing himself is decent enough, but his father lacks sense. The poor boy still doesn't know how to take care of himself. When I saw him recently, he cut a fine figure, but his posture was too rigid, as if he could never relax. She set it down with a tinge of regret. Marriage isn't just about living with one man. It's living with his entire family. If there's someone unreasonable in that household, it'll be a lifetime of troubles. I never once considered him. Let's not even mention those absurd past life incidents. I actually know him quite well. After losing both his mother and grandmother in succession, with his father constantly oppressing him, he's developed an overly sensitive nature. Being with him is like handling someone full of wounds. One wrong move and you'll touch a raw nerve. Mother nodded. That makes perfect sense. By the same token, Gu Fei is also unsuitable. He once had designs on the Chen family's daughter, but when Jing's parents favored He Linchuan, recently, I heard he jumped into the river to save a maid from the Shen household. At this point, Mother let out an unsparing scoff. When Jing's parents thought he still carried a torch for you, but ultimately gave up on him, which means the Gu family sent over an invitation. This may not align with Gu Fei's true wishes in their past lives. These two, it was a classic case of willing victim and willing offender. When confronted with the Crown Prince of Yu's missive, Mother rarely showed puzzlement, but this time she murmured, "What's going on with that family? They've actually sent proposals twice now. Go find out what's happening and report back to me." She clearly wanted to get to the bottom of this matter. I nearly laughed out loud hearing this. Since when do imperial descendants need to work So hard for marriage proposals, there are plenty lining up just waiting to be chosen. Something must be wrong here too. With that thought in mind, I finally met Lu Ming. One glance was all it took. I couldn't help but steal several more looks. Noticing my gaze, he suppressed a smile and asked, "Is chess getting a bit dull?" I shook my head. "No, I'm just surprised." Before coming here, I'd heard from several friends that the young master seemed rather aloof, yet he appeared quite approachable. Putting on a cold front helps avoid unnecessary trouble, but I don't act this way at home. As he placed a game piece, noticing my silence, he unexpectedly revealed his reason for proposing. "We've actually known each other for quite some time." That remark made me take a second look at him. When I noticed the mole on his nose bridge, memories came flooding back, hazy recollections overlapping with the present. My jaw dropped in astonishment. He nodded. "Yes, I'm the mudman who dragged you into the mire." It just came back to me, that same year when I was 10, the Jiang family had a guest who often played with us. Everyone called him Young Master Qin. "Aren't you from the Qin family?" I still remember how wildly he played, as if every day was pure joy. Jumped into the river to play, only to find more mud than water. Seeing how clean freak I was, they took offense at my disgust over their mud-covered selves, so they simply dragged me down into the mess with them. "My maternal family name is Qin," he said while capitalizing on my distracted misstep in the game. "When traveling, one usually adopts an alias." I sighed without thinking. "I didn't even notice." He handed me the chess pieces he'd picked up. "I've always liked you." His words were startlingly direct, more than I'd ever heard before. I froze completely. He explained to me, "But my parents said I'm too young and my personality isn't settled yet. My feelings might influence you, so I've kept my distance." As he spoke, he pushed the chess piece closer to me. "Now, I'm not a child anymore." The unspoken message was clear. He still liked me. My cheeks burned. "Why would you like me? I'm nothing special." Though puzzled, they still opened their hands to receive it. One black stone after another, burning hot to the touch, betrayed his nervousness. He averted his gaze, unable to meet my eyes. "Sometimes you're like the sun, sometimes the moon." I was speechless. "Mood swings, ahem." He cleared his throat repeatedly in a poor attempt to hide the smile tugging at his lips. "Both the sun and moon exist to describe someone as radiant as you." Before leaving, he said to me earnestly, "What you perceive as flaws are actually virtues you don't recognize. The light you think you lack has already illuminated others without you realizing." 12 Until Jiang Yuxing came looking for me. He asked me, "Would you give me a chance?" To my surprise, he didn't just stop me on the street. Instead, he went to plead with my parents, just to secure a chance to meet me. "Well, in that case, I don't mind being civil to him." In response to his whispered plea, after a moment's hesitation, I shook my head. "Brother Yuxing, I've always regretted one thing. I shouldn't have avoided you back then. What you did wasn't your fault." I'd always known he was handsome. When he looked at me with those sorrowful eyes, it's hard not to be moved, but I know full well, this is admiration. I carefully weighed my words of refusal. "I might have knocked on your window for a moment, but I never intended to break in and rescue you." He seemed barely able to endure it. His slightly reddened eyes were barely visible. Even so, he recounted everything that had happened. "When Grandma passed, I was devastated. Everyone saw my pillar of support was gone. They all drifted away. Only you kept checking on me, never treating me like I was invisible. But I ended up scaring you off." His voice caught. "If only." I cut him off. "No what ifs, don't even go there." I held his gaze without flinching. "I can't save anyone, but I hope you'll find the strength to open your own doors, pull out that dagger in your heart, and walk away from toxic people. You've got a whole life ahead. Live each day with purpose, and one day the good memories will outweigh the pain." I'd never seen a man cry before. He was the first. Tears long held back trailed down his face. For some reason, I felt a pang of melancholy, yet I knew perfectly well, deep down, we're cut from the same cloth. I too once had that dagger in my soul. It made me question everything about myself. Only I know how deeply that blade cut me. Every decision I make is being influenced by it. I've always considered myself well-behaved and sensible, never needed strict supervision like my younger sister, but I don't know, that kind of supervision is actually an act of care. Because of this absence, I often lack confidence. Everything that followed only deepened my anguish. A shard of steel began piercing my heart. I grew increasingly guarded in my existence. The harder I struggled to face my true self, the path ahead grows ever narrower. In times of sorrow, even the sky feels constricting, for my world had long been plunged into darkness. I told him, "When craving others' love, you must first love yourself." How long has it been since you truly savored a good meal, or freely wore what pleased you. Jiang Yuxing finally broke down and burst into tears. The dark clouds hanging over his head seemed to lift somewhat. Suddenly, I understood the meaning behind Lu Ming's words. Weaknesses can also be strengths. Eldest sister often pleads with our parents on behalf of her husband. She has a tender heart, not just toward her husband, but all of us. Knowing this softness of hers, we in turn treat her with gentle kindness. Second brother is boisterous and speaks his mind bluntly, so everyone responds to him with equal directness. Youngest sister Minhui is quick-tempered and spoiled, never hesitating to show her anger, but she never holds grudges. Her sweet apologies always melt our hearts. My sensitivity lets me notice those silently weeping in corners others overlook. To Lu Ming, whether I'm the sun or moon, I radiate light in his eyes. This feels like more than ordinary affection. 13. I married Lu Ming. Only after marriage did I realize he's far from perfect. No charming gentleman nor refined and cultured, often curses his political rivals at home, putting on a tough and cold front outside. When the first child was born, he'd worry, it'd be better if Jiehui takes after you rather than me as a child. What's the difference between that and a wild monkey? Yet he's remarkably steady, capable of handling all sorts of matters. We do argue sometimes, but there's one thing that puts my mind at ease. He could never bring himself to say hurtful things to me. That's why I can't bear to push him too far either. He never puts on airs around me, nor does he tread too carefully. I still remember when Jiehui was born, holding our daughter with red-rimmed eyes. He came to me. Minju, I responded weakly. Anyone with half a brain would know I need rest right now. After a pause, I heard his worried voice calling out again. I almost laughed in frustration. So he was worried I might die. He seemed born knowing how to treat people right. This kind of understated affection, exactly what I needed. His presence permeates every corner of life. I could tell he was in a bad mood when he was gardening. He understood my occasional sarcastic outbursts weren't meant seriously. I helped him unwind in my own way. He taught me there's no shame in saying sorry. Seeing He Linchuan again. 5 years had already passed since the incident with the Shen family. The He family sent him away to gain experience. Even with his knowledge of past lives, he still failed to capitalize on his head start. The water conservancy project nearly collapsed under his watch. Fortunately, he brought along the very person who saved the day in their previous life. The truth finally dawned on him. Some things are best left to the experts. Approaches must adapt as circumstances change. Nothing remains constant, including people. So he was genuinely surprised the moment he saw me. It was that kind of shock you get when seeing a familiar face that's changed dramatically. Fortunately, Jia Sui's arrival broke the awkward silence. That little brat has turned into a complete wild child after all. At the marriageable age of Minhui, she remained as lively as ever, chasing after and calling out, "Hey, Jia Sui, don't run so fast, your aunt can't keep up with you." Jia Sui, Helen Chuan was utterly shocked. He looked at me in panic. So it was. I bent down and scooped up the squirming Jiehui. "Stop bothering your aunt." Apparently he knew about the memorial tablet placed before the eternal lamp at Peach Blossom Nunnery. We once had a child together. The little one was lost in the river with me before we even knew its gender. I gave him the name Jiahe. She even shot me a glance after saying that. It's probably for the best that Ran Ta is gone. I pray for his swift reincarnation. I hope he can live a good life. I drugged He Linchuan so he'll never be able to have offspring. It's not that I'm infertile, he's incapable. My hatred for him never ceased. So after the Shen family incident, I had people spread word of He Linchuan's acquaintance with Shen Ke. They say Shen Ke would ruin my reputation just to back up his sworn brother. That's why no decent family would dare marry their daughter to him. In the end, he had no choice but to marry Gu Xiaoyun. Rumor has it Gu Xiaoyun's been in constant fights with his parents weren't pleased with Gu Xiaoyun as their daughter-in-law. Gu Xiaoyun detested the hypocrisy of the He couple. Nothing brings more satisfaction than seeing your enemies suffer. They'll haunt you like ghosts for the rest of your life, then die consumed by resentment and regret. Story 2. Reborn for the third time. Xing Xiaoxi still died at the age of 28. Unwilling to accept it, I started over again. We met, fell in love as usual, then sudden changes occurred. He began using his poor mental state as an excuse to frequently visit his psychologist until the day I caught them kissing in the consultation room, when Xing Xiaoxi scoffed and said, "You might think I'm crazy if I say this, but I've actually died 3 times, each time right next to Xiao Ran. I originally wanted to see how she'd save me, but now I realize she must be bad luck. I stayed far away, and look, I'm perfectly fine now." I quietly retreated. In this fourth life, whether he lives or dies has nothing to do with me. I'm going to live my own life now. I can't describe how I felt when I heard those remarks. Xing Xiaoxi bent down and buried his face in Feng Qinshuang's neck. lifting her long hair to take a gentle sniff. Feng Qinshuang was his psychologist. Xing Xiaoxi has been mentioning lately that he feels mentally confused and needs to see a doctor. I didn't expect it to be this kind of perspective. The intimate sight of the two was utterly blinding. The grief and fury of betrayal instantly consumed all my rationality. I could hardly restrain myself from rushing in to confront him, demanding why he would do such a thing. Through 3 lifetimes of rebirth, Xing Xiaoxi's heart has always remained devoted to me. I firmly believed this, yet the reality of the 4th life dealt me a heavy blow, leaving me in disbelief and wondering if I had misunderstood something. Then Xing Xiaoxi, whom I considered the most loving, devoted, and loyal person in my heart, spoke up. One with a sidelong glance, he playfully twirled the long hair of Feng Qinshuang sitting on his lap, let out a light scoff, and said, "Dr. Feng, tell me, do I really have something wrong with my brain?" But I feel the first 3 deaths didn't seem fake. The pain still gives me lingering fear when I think about it now. Feng Qinshuang covered her chest, putting on an exaggerated show of concern as she said, "Then what should we do? You won't die again this time, will you?" Xing Xiaoxi curled his lips into a smile. How could it be? I've accompanied Xiaoran through lifetimes, only to die by her side every single time. I originally wanted to see how she'd save me, but now I realize she must be bad luck. Staying far away from her is why I'm alive and well now. In this lifetime, I have you, Dr. Xiaoshuang. The upward lilt in his tone made Feng Qin's face flush red as she coquettishly retorted, "Then you've come to the right person, Dr. Feng will treat you for life." At that moment, the laughter of the man and woman inside the door sounded muffled, reaching my ears somewhat distorted. Xing Xiaoxi's words kept replaying and amplifying in my ears, making my heart constrict and a suffocating sensation surge over me. I leaned against the wall, gasping for breath in great heaves. I can no longer recall how I got home that day, only remembering the moment I collapsed onto the sofa, as if all strength had drained from my body like a spine being pulled out. I went completely limp. This is not an exaggeration in the slightest. What kept me restarting again and again was this obsession with saving 28-year-old Xing Xiaoxi. He died in our most loving moment during his 1st life. We had just gotten our marriage certificate, and he was driving me on a self-guided tour. In the car, I was still admiring the ring, saying I wanted to design a matching pair of earrings before his okay could even land. An out-of-control truck on the highway crashed into us with a bang. In that moment, time seemed to slow down. My pupils dilated with horror, clearly reflected him lunging toward me, shielding me with half his body. In the end, I saw his eyes, unwilling to close, stained with blood, filled with love and pain. I screamed hoarsely, crying uncontrollably in disbelief. My mind was consumed by a single thought: no, Xing Xiaoxi can't die. We still have so much left undone. I want to start over. I want to save him. Suddenly, it felt like another voice emerged in my mind asking, "Are you sure about abandoning your future, going back to possibly fail again?" Repeating the cycle over and over, I said yes. So I gave it my all for 1 lifetime, 2 lifetimes, then this lifetime tells me he knew everything all along. He just watched me, wretched and humble, begging him to stay alive. He even said it was my bad luck, that I was the one who caused his death. When Xing Xiaoxi returned, the night was already deep. I was still sitting blankly on the sofa, retracing where it all went wrong, wondering when exactly his heart had changed. "Why aren't the lights on? What are you sitting there spacing out for?" His tone was as gentle as ever, sitting beside me and naturally reaching to wrap an arm around my waist. So normal it was, as if what I'd seen earlier was just a dream. I dodged out of reflex. The atmosphere grew somewhat stiff. A trace of indifference flashed in Xing Xiaoxi's eyes, clearly having noticed my unusual behavior, but as if weary, he didn't inquire further. "I'm going to bed first. You should rest early too." That night I slept poorly, though Xing Xiaoxi lay beside me. My mind kept replaying scenes of his death. In his 1st life, he died instantly in a car accident, blood seeping from his body and soaking through my shirt. In our 2nd life, we got married. We didn't go on a honeymoon, so that car accident never happened. Then the accident came in the most absurd way. He came to pick me up after work when suddenly an advertising board crashed down from above. It struck him squarely and impartially. I watched helplessly as the tall man was crushed without a trace, as if heaven had decreed his death. I refused to believe it, so we came to the 3rd life. In this life, I quit my job and got married, following him almost everywhere, afraid that he might have an accident if I let him out of my sight. Thus, we made it safely to his 28th year. On his birthday, the candlelight illuminated his sparkling eyes, and in the glow, he confessed to me with moistened eyes, Ran, it's so good to have you." My heart was pounding wildly, and I could only feel his smile growing fainter, his face becoming increasingly blurred. An overwhelming sense of unease nearly knocked me off my feet. Then Xing Xiaoxi spat out a mouthful of blood. Perhaps too much time had passed, or perhaps my mind was too frantic to hold on to any other memories. I can't recall the name of his illness, something extremely rare. Life just came to an abrupt end, with an almost absurd abruptness. My last memory lingers in a pristine white hospital room in the deathly silence, only the faintly glowing machine beside me persistently beeped, like it was counting down my last breaths. I refused to accept this. How could I ever accept it? I met Xing Xiaoxi in my youth. Back then, I was a country bumpkin from the countryside. Because I was somewhat pretty and had enviable dancing talent, a few girls in class started targeting me intentionally or unintentionally. I endured and endured, until the day they overturned my grandmother's pancake stall. Amidst the mess on the ground, I tearfully helped my grandmother up while the girls, glamorous and aloof, laughed with sharp, piercing voices. They called me Pancake Girl and told me to go home and flip pancakes. Grandma was mute, her lips trembling as she gestured to wipe the oil stains off me. They laughed even more joyfully, and so Xing Xiaoxi appeared at this moment holding a camera. He made a call that summoned the school authorities. He was a good student and his family was fairly well off, making him quite an impressive figure in our small town. It was evening, though the sky had been overcast all day. Somehow at that moment the sunlight broke through the layers of gloom, pouring directly onto Xing Xiaoxi. He extended his hand, holding a clean and neatly folded handkerchief in his palm. The first thing he said was, "Sorry, I wanted to gather evidence first, so I didn't come to help you right away." Even now, I still remember how my heart raced that day, violent and powerful. It sustained me as I traversed alone through countless worlds of his death and cycles. Even by the second morning, I was still somewhat dazed. Xing Xiaoxi got up at this moment, changed into the clothes I had ironed, and glanced at me setting breakfast on the dining table. "Aren't you going to the dance troupe? Just staying at home like this? There's nothing for you to do here anyway." His voice trailed off on the last few words, filled with confusion. My hand wiping the table paused as I looked up at him, only to see his gaze quickly shift away. "To have breakfast at home? I won't eat. Don't see me off. And don't come pick me up tonight. I'm going to see Dr. Feng." He rubbed his temples at just the right moment, speaking in a flat tone. If it were before, I would definitely be worried about his condition, but now, I just feel a chill in my heart. He's about to turn 28, and we're about to get married. In previous lives at this time, I had completely lost the mood to work, living in constant fear every day, so I simply quit my job at the dance troupe and truly became a housewife. Back then, he thought I was working too hard and said with a smile, "Then don't go, just dance for me alone from now on, with me here. What do you have to worry about?" I accompanied him to and from work, and he proudly introduced me to his colleagues. He raised his hand boastfully to show off our matching rings, and now, he looks at me warily and coldly, telling me, "Stop staring at me all day. Find something to do for yourself." My breath hitches, followed by the slam of the door, plunging the room into an eerie silence. I sit at the table, mechanically picking at the breakfast in front of me, still warm to the touch, yet it feels unusually cold when it reaches the mouth. How could this happen? Ever since Xing Xiaoxi started treatment, the distance between us seems to have gradually widened. He's begun to grow weary and reject my presence after spending 3 lifetimes with me. "Now you've found true love." But saving Xing Xiaoxi was like a pre-programmed destiny written in my code. Suddenly being asked to give up feels like losing the center of gravity in my life. I feel like I should rush up and confront him, demanding to know if all my efforts in past lives were just a joke in his eyes. But then why did he keep playing along with me time after time? Yet I still act as if nothing ever happened, watching helplessly as Xing Xiaoxi gradually distanced himself from me, grew colder, and our conversations became fewer and fewer, watching helplessly as Feng Qinshuang grew closer to him, even to the point where on several nights, he couldn't be bothered to pretend anymore, directly calling her from the balcony in the darkness. Even through a pane of glass, I could see the smile spreading across Xing Xiaoxi's lips. Then one evening, like a resentful wife, I stubbornly sat at the dining table, waiting for him to return. It was almost 9 o'clock. After reheating the food countless times, Xing Xiaoxi finally returned. However, he didn't come back alone. Feng Qinshuang was with him. Feng Qinshuang nodded at me in greeting, then naturally changed shoes and entered the living room. "Don't misunderstand, Miss Xiao. I'm only here to assist Mr. Xing with his treatment." Mr. Xing's description is that he is always troubled by memories from the past or those that never existed, so I came to examine the home environment, which is actually a significant factor affecting mental state. She smiled generously and spoke professionally, displaying complete composure. In front of me, utterly devoid of the coquettishness she showed beside Xing Xiaoxi, appearing dignified and proper. It even made me feel as if the ambiguity between her and Xing Xiaoxi was just my imagination, but the next moment, when her gaze met Xing Xiaoxi's, she flashed a meaningful smile, carrying their unique understanding. Throw these things away, and also redesign the sofa layout over here. Her red lips parted and closed, until finally I could no longer make out what she was saying. All I saw was how the house Xing Xiaoxi and I had carefully arranged was being altered beyond recognition by her. Her gaze grew smug and provocative as she lifted her chin to look at me. People always have to look forward, so just throw away the old things. She took off a pendant from her bag and hung it at the entrance, saying in a coquettish tone, Mr. Xing, seeing something bright and colorful before going out will make you feel better. This is our marital home. I watched Xing Xiaoxi's lips curve uncontrollably, reluctantly bid farewell to Feng Qinshuang. Then my trembling lips began to speak. He asked back in confusion, our meticulously designed marital home, you just bring another woman back like this, casually disrupting our arrangements, leaving her traces behind. Ran, Dr. Feng is a professional, if something's unreasonable, it needs to be changed. Should I just stay sick if I'm ill? His tone carried a hint of helplessness, yet I detected an undercurrent of impatience. Stop being so stubborn. If you don't like the current arrangement, we can change it later according to your preferences. Bitterness rose in my throat. I took a deep breath and forced a smile as I spoke. Xing Xiaoxi, are we supposed to get our marriage certificate next month? Are you still getting married? Xing Xiaoxi frowned. What are you making a fuss about? Just because Feng Qinshuang came to visit. Xiao Ran, I think you have too much free time. If you have nothing to do, go find something to occupy yourself. Stop staring at me with wild imaginations. Now you're just saying whatever comes to mind. He wanted to say something more, but the next second he froze in place. My tone was flat and cold. Let's not get married. Just 3 words, yet I struggled to say them. Xing Xiaoxi didn't react immediately, his eyes showing a trace of confusion. What did you say? As he spoke, his voice trembled slightly, sounding as if he was suppressing some kind of joy. I suddenly remembered what he had said in front of Feng Qinshuang. She's always clinging to me, like bad luck, following me around. How could I not have accidents? My tears just froze in my eyes, held back from falling. Instead, a surge of grief and indignation rushed to my head, my icy blood seeming to ignite as I smiled soundlessly. What? Are you pleased that I said I won't get married? Xing Xiaoxi, you haven't really fallen for someone else, have you? Can't wait to get rid of me. Realizing I seemed to be joking around with him, his expression instantly darkened, his face terrifyingly grim. Xiao Ran, it's you who seems to have mental issues. Think this is fun? No wonder I've been in a bad state lately. It's because of your influence. He looked down at me condescendingly, angrily threw off his coat, and went to sleep in the guest room. The living room fell silent again, but the oppressive atmosphere lingered. I looked up at the ceiling, and the tears I'd held back for so long didn't recede. Instead, they rushed out uncontrollably. After that day, the relationship between Xing Xiaoxi and me grew even more strained. He began openly seeking out Feng Qinshuang without any pretense. Faced with my heart-wrenching accusations, he merely looked at me indifferently, his expression mocking. Then just give up on me. Don't get married then. Your world doesn't revolve around me alone. He remained calm, which only made me seem like the crazy one. I was left speechless. I can't accept this. I've invested 4 lifetimes. My sunk costs are too great, so great that I lack the courage to abandon everything I built. I kept thinking, just wait a little longer, until the day we were supposed to get our marriage certificate. The night before, he didn't come home. The next day, I stood at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau for a long time. After making who knows how many calls, someone finally picked up on the other end. It was Feng Qinshuang. Miss Xiaoxi celebrated my birthday with me last night and had a bit too much to drink. He's still not sober yet. When I rushed over, Feng Qinshuang opened the door for me. In the apartment, she stood against the wall in thin clothing, radiating an indescribable allure. Following her gaze, I saw the man inside getting dressed. Today I'd unusually put on makeup and pinned up my hair, but at this moment, with my hair disheveled and holding our documents, I looked utterly ridiculous. Turning around to look at Xing Xiaoxi, apart from some surprise, he remained composed and instead asked me, "Why are you here?" Feng Qinshuang thoughtfully closed the door for us. Only her spectator's gaze was so piercing that it threatened to shatter my last shreds of rationality. What am I doing here? Xing Xiaoxi, are you even sober? My blood boiled, and I couldn't help but throw all the documents on the ground. If you don't want to get married, just say so. There's no need to humiliate me like this. He froze for a moment, then slowly picked them up, curling his lips into a faint smile. I thought you already knew, but you still wouldn't let it go. He straightened up and stood over me, looking down with indifference as if I were a stranger. Can't you tell? I want to break up with you. Reason snapped like a taut string. I widened my eyes in disbelief as I looked up at him. I tried to find traces of the person he used to be in the man before me, but I failed. He lounged lazily on the edge of the bed, watching my reaction with amusement. Xing Xiaoxi, what do you think death feels like? After a long silence, I heard my own voice, hoarse and startling. I didn't feel death. But it was close. That kind of pain was worse than dying. So tired, so exhausted. I don't even know why I'm still holding on. Xing Xiaoxi visibly stiffened. His pupils trembled uncontrollably. Panic flashed across his face for a moment before he lowered his eyes, unnaturally avoiding my gaze. He knew what I was talking about. After all, he also carried memories from 3 lifetimes. He remained silent. And suddenly I felt a profound sadness. It felt like a century of silence had passed. Do you think I'm not tired? Xing Xiaoxi finally spoke, having died 3 times. Do you think I feel good about it? Every time I started over, I held on to the hope that maybe this time would be different, and I walked the same path without hesitation, but repeating the same mistakes over and over. Do you understand how that feels? By the 3rd time, I was actually ready to give up. I really wanted to just die and be done with it. Why come back again? Xiao Ran, I actually admire you quite a bit, standing at the beginning and seeing an inevitable death at the end, then looking back from the ending. Don't you feel despair? No matter how hard you try, nothing changes. His voice choked up slightly, his eyes as if veiled by a thin mist. Accept it, this is reality. Our story can only end there. I died at 28, but what about you? Did the second half of your life die with me? Let yourself go. With his last words, Feng Qinshuang opened the door. Sunlight streamed in, as if guiding him toward a new life. Without hesitation, he stepped forward toward Feng Qinshuang. I struggled to take a step forward, watching Feng Qinshuang standing perfectly matched with him. Miss Xiao, Xiaoxi said this strawberry tart is delicious, so I specially bought an extra one for you to take back. She handed me an exquisitely packaged dessert. At a glance, my hand jerked away as if electrocuted. That deep-seated fear in my soul swept over me again, leaving me paralyzed. I used to love eating strawberry tarts, and in my second life, Xing Xiaoxi even learned to make them himself. But I always complained about his poor skills and only bought them from one particular shop. After work, he went to buy them for me at the dessert shop across the street. Then a billboard came crashing down, smearing strawberry jam all over the ground. I will never forget that scene. Since then, I've never touched strawberries again. It tastes great, you should try it again. Xing Xiaoxi's voice was calm and light, as if all our past had become a gust of wind, blown away by him in the 4th life. I didn't arrive at Xing Xiaoxi's 28th year. Xing Xiaoxi packed up all his belongings. As he dragged his suitcase out, he remained as aloof as an outsider. He even destroyed every single photo of us. As I watched him expressionlessly throw away all the things that once carried countless memories of us into the trash, that suffocating feeling of my heart being tightly gripped overwhelmed me completely. The house is yours. Let's leave it at that. Xing Xiaoxi left without any hesitation. That strawberry tart was still on the table, its bright red strawberry jam looking like blood. I expressionlessly stuffed it into my mouth, the familiar taste flooding my entire palate, seemingly mixed with an indescribable metallic bloodiness, until finally I managed to swallow it with difficulty. By the time I realized, tears were already streaming down my face. An abrupt phone ring suddenly sounded. I answered to hear the dance company's principal on the line. Ran, we're missing a character for our new play. We've been searching for a while but couldn't find the right person. Do you think you could come help us out? I paused for a moment, responded with then added, I can come today. Are you still rehearsing at the usual place? After receiving an affirmative reply, I rubbed my temples and headed straight to the location. If Xing Xiaoxi was the first major event in my life, then dance was the second in my first life. With Xing Xiaoxi's encouragement, I took the art college entrance exam and successfully joined a local dance troupe after graduation. In subsequent lives, I continued to follow the same trajectory, but my dance career always stopped at this point. Because of Xing Xiaoxi's death, I had to abandon everything else in my life and fully confront the insurmountable mountain of life and death. Now that I think about it, since Xing Xiaoxi doesn't need me anymore, should I also return to my own path? But the effect was actually very poor. I stepped back onto the dance floor, following the music, but found it hard to regain that feeling. After I missed the beat again, the teacher looked at me, shook her head, and sighed softly. Ran, maybe you should take a break and adjust your state first. As the song ended, the members scattered to rest, while I stood there lost in thought. I was once the teacher's most favored student, young yet exceptionally talented. She once praised me, saying I naturally became the center of attention wherever I stood. But now, I feel trapped in a predicament with no way out. Teacher, how long will this rehearsal take? 2 months later. I froze for a moment when I got the answer, because by that calculation, the premiere date happened to be Xingxiaxi's 28th birthday. In several past lives, when I was desperately trying to save Xingxiaxi from death, the dance troupe completed their premiere perfectly without me. Actually, I didn't need to participate. After all, they never came looking for me in previous lifetimes. The moment this thought crossed my mind, I was ready to back out, but as the music's rhythm surged again, watching everyone compose their expressions and devote themselves wholeheartedly, the words of surrender stuck in my throat, impossible to utter. The moment I stepped out of the dance studio, I immediately booked a plane ticket. The destination was a small town in the southwest, where the dance now incorporated local ethnic characteristics. Having been away from the troupe for so long, I could no longer keep up with the pace. The teacher was very supportive. Go and learn something new, and take the chance to relax. It'll do you good. The wind blowing against me lifts my long hair as I exhale a deep breath, suddenly smiling in relief. Some things are just meant to be let go. I too have my own 28th year. By the time I returned from out of town, nearly a month had already passed. During this month, I wandered through mountains and forests, working and chatting with the local grannies. In moments of joy, we would dance under the evening sunset. People of their ethnicity, young and old, possess a unique talent for dance, unpolished yet indescribably free and radiant. Without formal music, everyone hummed tunes while rhythmically tapping nearby bamboo baskets. Unintelligible dialects and sunlight enveloped me together, soothing and smoothing my scarred, hollowed heart. Upon returning to my homeland, my teacher came to pick me up. Seeing me smile so effortlessly, her face too blossomed into a grin. There's a dance performance tonight, come check it out. I smiled and said okay, planning to go home and change clothes. But unexpectedly, just as I reached my doorstep, I looked up and saw Xingxiaxi leaning against the doorframe, and beside him, arm in arm, was Feng Qinshuang. When she saw me, Feng Qinshuang warmly came over with a beaming smile. Ran, have you been out playing? What's wrong? Yet my gaze couldn't help but drift towards Xingxiaxi again, but he skillfully avoided it. My heart suddenly skipped a beat. Forcing a smile, I turned to look at Feng Qinshuang. Is there something you need? Oh, it's like this. Xiaoxi said he left something here and came to pick it up. Since we just got our marriage certificate today, we thought we'd drop by to share the good news. The wedding date isn't set yet, but you absolutely must come. Feng Qinshuang's smile was radiant and dazzling, her ring refracting blinding light under the sun. In a daze, I couldn't articulate what I was feeling. After opening the door to let them in, Xingxiaxi went to fetch something, while Feng Qinshuang sat right in front of me, talking about how wonderful Xingxiaxi was. Seeing the happiness radiating from her face, I just felt a tightness in my chest. They're certainly moving fast. Xingxiaxi really couldn't wait to get rid of me. Where are those matching bracelets we bought after the college entrance exams? Xingxiaxi suddenly spoke up. Catching me off guard with his question, I instinctively pulled my hands into my sleeves, hiding the fact that both bracelets were actually still on my wrists. After the exams, he worked 2 months of summer jobs, toiling from dawn till dusk, just to put one of those bracelets on my wrist. When I started college later, when we had money, he started putting more expensive jewelry on my hands. I've kept those 2 pieces stored away. It was a somewhat famous affordable luxury brand, not too expensive when purchased, but now it's become a collector's item that's hard to obtain even with money. Shuang really liked them. You can just give me my piece. The smile on my face was becoming hard to maintain. When did Xingxiaxi become such an undignified person? For his current girlfriend, he actually had the nerve to come ask his ex for things back without feeling awkward. I was undignified too, foolishly treasuring these 2 bracelets like precious things hidden on my wrist. While I was lost in thought, Xingxiaxi had already noticed. He stepped forward, unceremoniously grabbed my forearm, and exposed my pale wrist. Feng Qinshuang exclaimed in surprise. Beside them, so it was in Ranran's hands all along, and she even brought 2. Xiaoxi, perhaps Ranran really likes them. I'll pass, let her keep them. At that moment, I felt as if I had been stripped bare. Xingxiaxi's slightly mocking gaze, Feng Qinshuang's pitying yet triumphant smile, all cut through my flesh like sharp knives. Xiao Ran, you still can't let go, can you? So in love, aren't you? Xingxiaxi let out a mocking Laugh as he spoke, grief and indignation welled up in my heart as I forcefully shook off Shingshaxi's hand. It was at this moment I realized the person before me was no longer the Shingshaxi who once loved me. With a relieved smile, I unfastened the clasp of the bracelet and threw both pieces into the trash bin. Sorry, you're overthinking it. It's just because they're expensive. Can't I pretend to be rich for once? But when too many people like something, it becomes disgusting. I've never liked sharing with others. If you want them, go pick them up yourself. That day, Shingshaxi left angrily with Feng Qinshuang in his arms, and before going, he didn't forget to humiliate me one last time. Don't you dare fall apart without me. This time, make sure it's not you who dies first. I no longer had any lingering feelings for him and retorted without hesitation, there's still a month left. Say your proper goodbyes to your wife, lest you run out of time for last words. Watching his retreating figure, I decisively picked up the trash bag and flung it straight into the large bin by the door. Perfect. Now there won't be any trace of him left in the house. I looked around, thinking I might as well rearrange the home decor in a couple of days while I'm at it. In the evening, I went to watch a dance performance. My colleagues on stage saw me and smiled back at me. When it ended, I suddenly realized I was already in tears. On the way to offer flowers at the backstage, I suddenly heard sobbing sounds. I looked and saw what appeared to be a mother and daughter. The one crying was a little girl, her mother comforting her by her side. It's okay, Yu. We'll come back next time. Big sister will definitely return. As I stood there at a loss, the little girl suddenly looked up and met my gaze. The next second, an extraordinary light burst forth in her eyes as she stared at me in disbelief. Sister Xiaoren. By the time I came to my senses, she had already run up to me. Oh, it's you. You must be Xiaoren. My daughter is your little fan. She's been worried about you since you haven't appeared in the dance troupe's recent performances, and she insisted on coming backstage to see you. Ever since this child watched your performance 3 years ago, she's been determined to learn dance, saying she wants to share the stage with you someday. Her mother's words hit me like a pebble dropped into my heart, sending ripples through my emotions. The girl shyly stole glances at me, her round face flushed with excitement. The girl's mother warmly pulled us together for a photo. Before leaving, the girl gently tugged my sleeve and asked cautiously, Sister, is something wrong? Why haven't we seen your performances for so long? Sister will keep dancing, right? Yu will always be by sister's side. I froze for a moment, unsure why. My eyes grew slightly moist. I bent down to pat her head and nodded solemnly. There'll be my performance next month. Remember to come watch. Yu. I watched as the little girl's eyes widened, brimming with unrestrained joy, and smiled back at her. She skipped away, and the teacher appeared beside me at some point. Have you found the status? I nodded and softly murmured aham. Time flew by as I immersed myself in rehearsals, and before I knew it, the opening night had arrived. An alarm I never set suddenly went off abruptly when I woke up in the morning, confused. I was about to turn it off when I realized it was a schedule reminder. Only then did it dawn on me. Today is also Shingshaxi's 28th birthday. The alarm was counting down, 12 hours left until the time he was last diagnosed with the disease. I suddenly felt a bit dazed and couldn't help wondering, will he die in this lifetime? 5. Could it really be because of me that he keeps dying over and over? If he doesn't die, I'll bless him. If he dies, then time didn't allow me to consider so much. Because the teacher's call had already come through for the final rehearsal, we must ensure everything is foolproof. In the blink of an eye, most of the day passed and evening arrived. 7 o'clock was our performance time, and also the time when the accident happened in my previous life. My heart was pounding, though I didn't know what I was nervous about. The teacher asked the members to take a break first, adjust their mindset, and face the stage in an hour. I went outside to get some fresh air. The phone ringtone suddenly rang at this moment. Sounding sharp and piercing, I quickly answered it with one hand, only to realize it was Shingshaxi calling. The voice on the other end was very soft. Ran, if I die, would you be sad? 1 more hour. The previous 2 deaths had both occurred suddenly before his birthday. Only the 3rd time, when abnormalities were detected on his birthday, did it give me some time to say goodbye. I was stunned. I really wanted to blurt out, no way, aren't you bound to die anyway? Whether with me or with Feng Qinshuang, such words to mock his infidelity. But when the words reached my lips, I just sighed softly. Maybe if I die, will you start over? He asked again, perhaps separated by a screen. I couldn't discern the emotion in his voice. Only his voice sounded somewhat hoarse, distorted as it reached my ears. This time I didn't hesitate and replied firmly, if he dies again this time, it can only prove that all my previous efforts were in vain. Fate is predetermined and cannot be changed no matter what. I won't have any thoughts of restarting again. He was silent for A moment before speaking again in a faint voice, "All right, wishing you a successful performance." The moment I hung up the phone, a flood of inexplicable emotions surged in my heart, but the strongest one seemed to be nothing more than a sense of pity, a tragic fate that cannot be escaped no matter how much one cycles through it. I walked backstage where the actors had already begun applying makeup and changing costumes. I also composed myself, preparing to face the upcoming performance at 7 o'clock sharp. Everything resets. I stepped onto the long-awaited stage, gazed at the audience filling the seats below, took a deep breath, and slowly raised my hand. The music transitioned from fast to slow before finally stopping. When the piece ended, I hadn't made a single mistake. The moment the stage lights illuminated my entire being, I saw the gently lifted faces in the audience, radiant with happiness and joy, just as I had countless times when watching dancers on stage as a spectator. From that moment on, the seed of a dream was actually sown in my heart. Now it has finally blossomed and borne fruit once again. I am reborn. As I stepped off the stage, a teacher behind the curtain presented me with flowers, wiping away tears. Ran, you truly live up to my expectations. To be honest, I was initially worried that after such a long break from practice, you might struggle to keep up, but your boyfriend came forward insisting you'd have no problems at all, he repeatedly assured me. Oh, by the way, why didn't he come to present flowers at today's premiere? My mind went blank for a moment, and I instinctively asked, "Wait, Xing Xiaoxi approached you?" "Yes, I originally didn't want to consider you. After all, you'd officially resigned from the troupe. It wasn't just a leave of absence, but Xiaoxing personally came to plead for another chance on your behalf, saying you'd made that decision impulsively without proper consideration. I do think it's a pity for you, and you probably felt too embarrassed to contact me again, so I took the initiative to call you." She kept chattering on. My mind went completely blank. So, this opportunity was secured for me by Xing Xiaoxi, but why would he do that? The memories of the fourth life were too chaotic and fragmented, flooding into my mind all at once, making my head feel like it was about to explode from the pain. I seemed to have forgotten something very important, but what could it be? The phone beside me suddenly jerked me back to reality, with Feng Qinshuang's eerily calm voice on the other end. "Xing Xiaoxi is dead." When I rushed over, Feng Qinshuang said he wanted to see me one last time, so he held on and didn't die. I found this statement ridiculous, with a sense of absurdity that didn't match reality. Dazedly, I entered his hospital room, white and pristine as in the third life. Like heaven, he lay on the white hospital bed, his face bearing a peculiar serenity. Seeing me, he seemed in good spirits. "You didn't cry this time," quite composed. "You're going to die anyway. After dying so many times, you should be used to it by now." My voice was calm, and the moment I said it, even I found it unbelievable. Like a boulder that once weighed on my heart, it crumbled away without me noticing. He didn't close his eyes, staring fixedly into mine. "You're really just going to watch me die like this? You won't come back? Then why are you still here?" he asked me with a smile. In an instant, everything around began to blur and fade. Like a dream about to end, the illusory scene started to distort. Only Xing Xiaoxi's face remains clear. His smile was faint, as if about to disappear. "Xiao Ran, you shouldn't be here. You should go back, return to your life, return to your stage, return to your 28-year-old self. I'm dead. You said you've let go." The whole world fell silent, only his voice remained, crystal clear, like a sharp sword piercing straight through my heart, shattering the 3 lifetimes I had deluded myself into constructing. Oh, now I remember, there was no cycle, it was simply him, out of love, accompanying me through 2 more lifetimes, and again out of love, having to force me to face reality. It's me, trapped in his death, unable to move on. Side story, Feng Qin. My name is Feng Qin. I am a psychological counselor. At the beginning of the year, I met a client, a gentle and polite noblewoman. Although she didn't look well, it was clear she wasn't in such a state that required my help. Just as I had thought, she took me to meet the real guest, a 28-year-old woman. "This is my daughter-in law. She and my son were in a car accident during their road trip. My son died on the spot." The noblewoman choked up slightly. After being unconscious for 2 days and waking up, her mental state became like this. I turned my head to look at the woman sitting on the sofa. She was very beautiful, with a slender figure and graceful posture. The noblewoman said she used to be a dancer. I chuckled and said it showed. She sat quietly, playing with 2 intertwined bracelets on her wrist. "Her name is Xiao Ran. You can call her Ran. 6. I nodded, attempting to strike up a conversation with her, but she remained silent, only turning her head to look at me with unfocused eyes, as if separated from us by an entire world. "She's always sleeping. barely awake for a few hours each day, the noblewoman sighed, her eyes already rimmed red. Please, help us. Initially, I confidently took on this task. After a few days of interaction, I discovered Xiao Ran was a very gentle person. Sometimes when I spoke, she would listen quietly, but just as I was preparing to advance the treatment, I encountered difficulties. Although Xiao Ran showed indifference to everything in the outside world, her reactions were intense when it came to Xing Xiaoxi. For example, I suggested rearranging her room with brighter colors and minimizing reminders of Xing Xiaoxi's presence, even though he had already passed away, reduce her exposure to his belongings. Otherwise, it would just be constant emotional triggers. Despite her overwhelming grief, Xing Xiaoxi's mother knew life must go on, so she complied with everything. However, Xiao Ran reacted intensely to everything, staring at me with furious hostility as if I were an enemy. She even spoke up for the first time, calling me the third party who intruded into her world with Xing Xiaoxi. I was somewhat dumbfounded. I admit I might have acted too hastily, so when my gaze fell on her wrists, she reacted even more intensely, tightly covering those two bracelets as if afraid I'd take away the last thing Xing Xiaoxi left her. Xing Xiaoxi's mother was wiping tears beside them. I was at a complete loss for the first time. I had underestimated her feelings for Xing Xiaoxi, so a few days later, I opted for another treatment approach, hypnosis. I inquired with Xing Xiaoxi's mother about some details of their past and also learned about Xiao Ran's history. If it weren't for that car accident, our whole family would have happily gone to watch the premiere of her new dance drama. That day was supposed to be Xiaoxi's birthday too. He had even planned to watch the performance together first, then take us all out to celebrate. He said he loved watching Ran dance the most. Life is unpredictable. Perhaps the only redemption for the living is to face the passing of the deceased. My treatment was merely a trivial guidance. I wanted to give her some positive suggestions while her subconscious was relaxed. However, I miscalculated. My patient fell into a deep sleep state, which was already beyond my control. But her behavior didn't seem like suffering. Forget it, just let her sleep for a while. I thought this way, then quietly sat beside her and waited the entire afternoon. During that time, I even considered giving up on this patient and refunding all the fees. Their bond was too deep. How can I help someone who has lost